Have you ever met someone who changed your life completely? They came into your world like a sudden rain on a dry day. They brought joy, they brought laughter, and they made you feel truly alive. You believed they were a blessing. You believed they would stay with you until the very end. Then, just as suddenly as they arrived, they left. They vanished from your life, leaving behind a deep wound, a broken heart, and a mountain of painful questions. You sit alone in the quiet night, and you ask the empty room why this happened. You wonder what you did wrong. You wonder why they entered your world, only to tear it apart. This is a pain that many people know too well. It is a sorrow that cuts deep into the human soul. You feel like a victim of a cruel game. You feel that life is unfair, and you feel completely lost in the darkness. When a relationship ends badly, the mind naturally searches for a reason. You replay every conversation in your head. You look for clues, and you look for mistakes. But the more you look, the more confused you become. The anger builds up inside your chest, and the sadness weighs heavy on your shoulders. You feel helpless because you cannot change the past, and you cannot force them to come back. In the eyes of the Buddha, nothing happens by chance. Every meeting has a profound purpose, and every departure carries a hidden truth. There are no accidents in this vast universe. Some people do not come to stay with you forever. They come because they have a specific mission. They come to teach you a lesson that you cannot learn any other way. They are temporary visitors, but their impact is permanent. They are the instruments of your own destiny. Consider a story about a young villager named Anan. Anan lived in a peaceful valley, surrounded by high mountains. He was a kind person, but his heart was always restless. He always sought validation from the outside world. One day, a charismatic traveler arrived in the village. The traveler was wise, articulate, and full of wonderful stories from distant lands. Anan welcomed the stranger into his home with open arms. They became close friends very quickly. They shared deep conversations under the starlight. They walked the mountain paths together, and Anan trusted him with deep secrets. The traveler promised to help Anan build a prosperous future. He promised to stay in the valley for a very long time. Anan felt incredibly happy, and he felt secure. He invested all his hope, all his trust, and all his energy into this friendship. He built his entire world around this one person. One morning, Anan woke up and felt a strange silence in the house. He walked into the living room and found it empty. The traveler was gone. He had taken all the savings of Anan, and all the valuable possessions in the house. He left no note, and he left no explanation. Anan was completely devastated. His trust was shattered into pieces. His heart was filled with a burning anger, and a deep sense of betrayal. He wept for many days, and he refused to eat. He cursed the day he met the stranger. He could not understand why a person he loved so much could hurt him so deeply. He felt like his life was ruined forever. Anan decided to look for answers. He traveled to a quiet monastery, high up on the mountain. He sought guidance from an old monk who was known for his deep wisdom. Anan cried out in pain before the monk. He asked why the universe punished him so harshly when he had done nothing wrong. He asked why bad things happened to good people. The old monk listened patiently, and his eyes were full of compassion. He did not offer quick words of comfort, and he did not judge the anger of Anan. Instead, the monk asked Anan to look at a fruit tree in the courtyard. The monk asked if the tree gets angry when the autumn wind knocks down its leaves. Anan shook his head, and he replied that the tree does not get angry because it is the nature of the wind to blow. The monk smiled gently, and he explained that people are exactly like the wind. They enter your life according to their own nature, and they leave according to their own karma. The monk explained that the traveler did not come to destroy Anan. He came because there was an ancient debt between their souls. In a past life, Anan might have taken something valuable from that same person. In this life, the debt had to be settled. The universe was simply balancing the scales of cause and effect. Karma is a precise law, and it never makes a mistake. The traveler was just an agent of karma, sent to collect what was owed. When you understand this truth, the illusion of being a victim disappears. You realize that you are not being punished by the universe. You are simply clearing the old financial books of the soul. When someone hurts you and leaves, it means a karmic connection has ended. The energy bond has been spent, and the transaction is complete. You cannot force a person to stay when their karmic purpose in your life is finished. Trying to hold on to them is like trying to stop the seasons from changing. It only causes more exhaustion, and it brings more suffering to your heart. The departure is actually a sign of liberation. It means a heavy burden from your past has been lifted. You should not look at the empty space with sorrow, you should look at it with a sense of relief. The traveler taught Anan a profound lesson about self-reliance. Before the stranger arrived, Anan looked for happiness outside of himself. He depended on another person to feel complete, and he depended on human promises to feel safe. The betrayal forced Anan to look inward. It forced him to find a strength that he did not know he possessed. He learned to stand firmly on his own feet, and he learned to guard his own inner peace. The painful experience was actually a harsh blessing in disguise. It stripped away his illusions, and it revealed his true power. The stranger was not just a thief, he was a teacher who delivered a powerful lesson on independence. Every difficult encounter is a masterclass for your soul. The people who cause you the most pain are often your most important teachers. They expose your weaknesses, and they show you where you are still attached. They force you to grow, and they force you to awaken. Without the pain of betrayal, you might remain asleep in your illusions forever. You might never discover the infinite peace that lies within your own mind. Therefore, do not hate the ones who leave you. Do not waste your precious energy on resentment and anger. Resentment is like drinking poison, and expecting the other person to die. It only harms your own health, and it traps your soul in a dark cycle. When you let go of anger, you reclaim your personal power. You take control of your own destiny, and you stop letting others dictate your happiness. You look back at the relationship with a clear mind, and with a heart full of understanding. You see the beauty of the moments you shared, and you accept the reality of their departure. You understand that their role in your story is over, and your new chapter is about to begin. This is the first step toward true healing, and the first step toward spiritual maturity. Your heart becomes like a vast ocean, which can receive any storm without being shaken. You learn to appreciate the people who enter your life, without demanding that they stay forever. You enjoy their company, you learn from their presence, and you let them go with a blessing when it is time. This understanding brings an incredible sense of freedom. It clears the fog from your mind, and it fills your soul with a gentle light. As everyone contemplates this flow of life, you realize that the desire for permanence is the root of all human sorrow. The journey of understanding must continue into the nature of time, and into the deep illusion of holding on to things that are meant to flow like water. Fan wanda hon ton de du noi dung, dam bao kong su dung kak ky tu dac beat, kong dung tu viet tat, ka van non gon va chien y myipma. Ban ko the teep tuc cho y kien de trien kai kak fan teep theo. Water always flows downward to the vast ocean. You can dip your hands into a cool river. You can feel the refreshing water against your skin. But you can never hold that water in your hands forever. If you squeeze your fingers tightly, the water slips away even faster. Human relationships are exactly like that flowing river. Everyone walks through life wanting beautiful things to last forever. You meet a wonderful person. You share moments of pure joy and deep connection. Instantly, your mind builds a strong fortress. You want to lock that person inside your world. You demand that the feeling remains unchanged for eternity. This desire for forever is a very beautiful dream. Yet it is the very root of profound human suffering. Life is entirely governed by the law of impermanence. Nothing stays the same, even for a single second. High mountains slowly erode into soft sand. Bright stars eventually burn out in the vast sky. The tiny cells in your body change every single day. The flowing thoughts in your mind shift with every single breath. How can you expect a human relationship to remain frozen in time? When you refuse to accept this universal truth, you create your own prison. You live in constant fear of losing what you currently have. You stop enjoying the actual presence of the other person. You become too busy worrying about an unknown tomorrow. In doing so, you completely miss the gentle beauty of today. There was once a devoted flower grower named Lin. Lin lived near a quiet, misty lake in an ancient valley. He spent his entire life studying rare and exotic plants. His greatest achievement was discovering a single silver orchid. This flower was known as a legend among all growers. It would only open its delicate petals for one single night. It only bloomed under the bright light of the full moon. Lin waited 7 long years for this rare event to happen. When the night finally arrived, the silver orchid bloomed perfectly. It glowed with a soft and delicate light. It filled the cool air with an intoxicating fragrance. Lin was completely mesmerized by its stunning beauty. But soon, he felt a deep panic rising in his chest. He could not bear the heavy thought of the flower dying by morning. Lin ran frantically into his dark storage shed. He brought out special chemical sprays and heavy glass jars. He tried to build a tight vacuum around the fragile flower. He wanted to preserve its ultimate perfection forever. He spent the entire night adjusting his glass box. He applied chemicals to freeze the petals perfectly in place. When the warm sun came up, Lin stepped back to admire his work. The silver orchid was completely dead. The harsh chemicals had turned the glowing petals brown and brittle. The beautiful fragrance was completely gone from the air. Lin fell to his knees, and he wept bitterly. He destroyed the very thing he loved so much. He killed the flower because he tried to possess it eternally. A wise neighbor walked by and saw the ruined plant. The neighbor looked at Lin with eyes full of deep compassion. The neighbor spoke gently to the crying man. The true beauty of the silver orchid is not in its physical form. The real beauty is in its brief, glorious moment of life. The flower gives its entire soul to the world for one night. It holds absolutely nothing back from the universe. It does not fear the arrival of the morning sun. It blooms wildly, and then it gracefully returns to the earth. The neighbor explained that Lin did not actually love the flower. Lin only loved his own selfish desire to keep it. Lin missed the miracle because he was fighting against the natural law. This story reflects exactly how many people treat love and connection. You meet someone who brings warm light into your soul. Instead of standing joyfully in the light, you try to capture the sun. You demand heavy promises of forever. You create strict rules for the other person to follow. You build high walls of expectation around their heart. You forget that they are a living, breathing, and changing being. When they naturally change, you feel deeply betrayed. When they need to walk a different path, you feel deeply hurt. You cry over the broken relationship in the dark. But very often, the relationship was crushed under the heavy weight of your own demands. Impermanence is not a cruel punishment from a distant universe. It is actually a profound expression of spiritual freedom. Because things change, your deep healing is entirely possible. Because pain is impermanent, you will definitely smile again. Because people change, you have the wonderful opportunity to grow. If nothing ever changed, life would be a stagnant pool of water. It would be a frozen picture without any real soul. You must learn to love exactly like the silver orchid blooms. You must give your full heart to the present moment. You must appreciate the people sitting right next to you today. You look deeply into their eyes, and you listen closely to their words. You do not worry if they will be there next year. You celebrate the beautiful fact that they are here with you today. Society often teaches a very confused idea about love. Movies and songs tell everyone that love means possession. They say that if you love someone, they must belong to you. The teachings of the Buddha offer a completely different view. True love is not about gripping tightly. True love is about holding gently with open hands. Attachment says that I love you, therefore I want you to make me happy. True love says that I love you, therefore I want you to be truly happy. You want them to be happy even if their path leads them away from you. This shift in perspective changes the entire landscape of your mind. It turns painful endings into peaceful closures. Accepting impermanence takes immense courage in a changing world. It means opening your tight hands and letting the wind blow. It means letting go of the illusion of control. When you stop demanding forever, a heavy weight falls from your tired shoulders. You stop acting out of deep, hidden fear. You start acting out of pure, unconditional love. If a person stays, you are deeply grateful for their presence. If a person leaves, you are still deeply grateful for their time. You honor the moments you shared together. You understand that their departure does not erase the beauty of the past. The joy you felt was absolutely real. The painful lessons you learned are yours to keep forever. The love you gave quietly expands your own spiritual heart. Every single ending is simply the birth of a new beginning. When a long chapter closes, you do not need to tear the book apart. You simply breathe deeply, and you gently turn the page. You prepare your mind for the next important lesson. You begin to recognize that you are a complete universe within yourself. You do not need another person to make your soul whole. You are already whole and complete in this very moment. The people who come and go are simply travelers. They are sharing your long path for a little while. They walk beside you, they teach you valuable things, and they gracefully move on. As you learn to release the heavy illusion of forever, your eyes become perfectly clear. You stop seeing people as your personal property. You start seeing them as vital spiritual messengers. Every human interaction begins to look like a precise mathematical equation. You realize that no one simply wanders into your life by random mistake. There is a deep, unseen force at work. This force is constantly pulling specific souls together across time and space. The physical encounters might be very brief, but the invisible roots go deep. These roots reach far back into the distant past. This realization leads to a profound question about the exact nature of these encounters. You must begin to wonder what unseen threads truly connect your heart to the strangers. You must explore how these fleeting visitors suddenly become your greatest spiritual teachers. You look into the eyes of a stranger and you feel a sudden spark. You feel a deep familiarity in their voice. You feel like you have known them for 1,000 years. This powerful feeling is never a random coincidence. It is the silent echo of a past connection. The unseen threads of karma weave the intricate fabric of your life. These invisible threads stretch across vast oceans of time and space. You meet certain people today because the universe has a precise schedule. There are absolutely no random accidents in the spiritual world. Every meeting is a perfectly arranged appointment. Every person who steps into your life carries a specific energetic vibration. They carry a unique key to unlock a hidden door inside your mind. The law of cause and effect governs every movement in the universe. Every single action you take creates an invisible energy. This energy travels out into the vast universe. It waits for the perfect moment to return to you. Karma is not a judge sitting in the sky. Karma is simply the natural balancing of universal scales. When you understand this fundamental truth, human relationships take on a new meaning. You realize that not everyone is meant to be a permanent life partner. Many people are simply spiritual messengers. They are sent by the universe to deliver a specific letter to your soul. They bring a specific lesson that you desperately need to learn. Imagine a royal messenger arriving at your house. The messenger knocks on your door and hands you an important letter. The messenger does not move into your guest room. The messenger does not stay for dinner or live with you forever. Once the letter is safely in your hands, their job is completely done. They turn around and walk away to continue their own journey. Karmic relationships work in the exact same way. Someone enters your life to deliver a profound lesson about love. Someone else arrives to teach you about boundaries and self-respect. Once the spiritual lesson is fully delivered, their karmic contract expires. Their energy naturally pulls away from your world. Suffering happens when you confuse a temporary messenger with a permanent resident. You grab the arm of the messenger and you refuse to let them leave. You cry and you beg them to stay in your house. You ignore the important letter they brought for you. You become entirely obsessed with the person delivering the message. This creates massive confusion and deep emotional pain. The universe will eventually force the messenger to leave. The harder you hold on, the more your hands will bleed. You must learn to read the message and gracefully release the messenger. You must find the hidden wisdom inside the painful experience. Consider the story of a skilled clay potter named Elara. Elara lived in a small village near a winding river. She was famous for creating the most perfect clay pots in the region. Her pots were perfectly round and completely flawless. Elara was deeply obsessed with this idea of perfection. She controlled every single detail in her quiet workshop. She kept her doors locked to prevent the wind from ruining her clay. She lived a very lonely life because human beings are never perfect. She rejected anyone who made a small mistake or showed a flaw. Her heart was exactly like her clay pots. It was beautiful on the outside but cold and empty on the inside. One rainy afternoon, a tired traveler knocked on her heavy wooden door. The traveler asked for a small cup of water. Elara reluctantly opened the door to let him inside. The traveler was clumsy and his wet clothes dripped water on her clean floor. As he turned around to thank her, his heavy bag swung sideways. The bag hit her most prized clay vase sitting on the table. The perfect vase crashed onto the hard stone floor. It shattered into dozens of jagged pieces. Elara was furious and her face turned red with immense anger. She screamed at the traveler for destroying her ultimate masterpiece. She demanded that he leave her house immediately. The clumsy traveler did not run away and he did not argue. He calmly knelt down on the wet floor. He gently picked up the broken pieces of the shattered vase. He reached into his deep pocket and pulled out a small pouch. The pouch contained a glowing golden powder. The traveler asked Elara for some sticky tree sap. He silently mixed the golden powder with the sticky sap. He began to mend the broken pieces of the clay vase together. He worked slowly and with deep reverence for the broken object. He did not try to hide the ugly cracks. He filled every single crack with the bright gold mixture. When he finally finished his work, he placed the vase on the table. Elara stared at the object in absolute silence. The vase was no longer perfect and it was no longer symmetrical. But it was far more beautiful than before. The golden lines running through the clay told a powerful story of survival. The vase now had a unique soul and a deep character. The traveler looked at Elara with gentle and knowing eyes. He softly told her that things do not need to be perfect to be beautiful. Sometimes you have to break open to let the golden light inside. The traveler then picked up his bag and quietly walked back into the heavy rain. Elara never saw the clumsy traveler ever again. He did not stay to become her friend or her wealthy patron. He was a pure karmic messenger sent to shatter her rigid ego. He came to destroy her unhealthy obsession with absolute perfection. He taught her how to find breathtaking beauty in broken things. From that day on, Elara opened the doors of her workshop. She started to welcome the imperfect villagers into her lonely life. She learned to love people with all their beautiful flaws and deep scars. Her heart became warm and full of genuine compassion. She often looked at the golden vase and she felt deep gratitude for the stranger. She was thankful for the beautiful destruction he brought to her world. You will encounter many clumsy travelers in your own life. They will walk into your carefully planned world and they will break your expectations. They will shatter your perfect illusions and they will leave you in pieces. In those moments, your first reaction will always be intense anger. You will feel unfairly treated by the harsh universe. You will point your finger at the person who caused the terrible damage. But if you pause and take a very deep breath, your vision will clear. You will realize that your rigid ego needed to be broken. Your heart needed to crack open so the light of wisdom could enter. The person who hurt you was simply holding the hammer of karma. When you truly accept the role of karmic messengers, your bitter anger dissolves. You stop asking why a specific person treated you so badly. You start asking what golden lesson you can extract from the difficult experience. You realize that the universe loves you too much to let you remain stagnant. The universe will send whatever experience is necessary for your ultimate growth. Sometimes the lesson arrives wrapped in a beautiful box of joy. Very often, the most important lessons arrive wrapped in a heavy box of pain. The wrapping paper does not matter at all. The only thing that truly matters is the valuable gift inside the box. People come and people go just like the passing clouds in the sky. You cannot nail a cloud to the sky and expect it to stay. You simply admire its unique shape before it drifts away into the horizon. Your soul is the vast and clear sky behind those moving clouds. The sky is never damaged by the passing storms or the heavy rain. The sky remains untouched and perfectly whole. Every person who passes through your life simply adds to your vast wisdom. They are the essential tools for your spiritual evolution. As you deeply contemplate this natural flow of messengers, a new challenge arises in your mind. The mind naturally struggles when a messenger leaves a particularly deep wound. You must now look closely at the devastating pain of betrayal. You will explore how a shattered foundation of trust becomes the exact ground for a massive spiritual awakening. Betrayal is the deepest wound a human heart can possibly experience. It does not come from your known enemies. It only comes from the people you trust the most. You give someone the delicate key to your soul. You trust them completely to guard your most vulnerable feelings. You build a safe home for them inside your mind. Then they use that exact key to break inside and destroy everything. The pain is completely blinding, and it takes your breath away. It makes you question every single beautiful memory you shared together. You wonder if any of their smiles were ever real. You feel a cold emptiness expanding rapidly inside your chest. Trust is a beautiful glass bridge connecting two human hearts. When severe betrayal strikes, that fragile glass bridge shatters into a million sharp pieces. You are left standing all alone on the edge of a dark cliff. Your mind quickly becomes a chaotic battlefield of endless questions. Why did they do this to me? Was I not good enough for them? Did I deserve this terrible cruelty? These painful questions circle your tired mind like hungry wolves in the dark night. You lose your peaceful sleep, and you lose your daily appetite. The world suddenly feels like a very dangerous and cold place. You decide to build a massive stone wall around your broken heart. You swear quietly that you will never trust another human being again. You think this thick wall will protect you from future pain. But this heavy wall does not keep the pain outside. It actually locks the bitter pain inside with you. It blocks the warm sunlight of new love from reaching your spiritual soul. Consider the story of a highly skilled pearl diver named Kale. Kale lived on a small tropical island surrounded by deep, mysterious waters. He had a diving partner named Jero. They grew up together, and they shared everything like real brothers. Diving for ocean pearls is a very dangerous daily job. You must tie a heavy rope tightly around your waist. Your partner stays on the small wooden boat holding the other end of the rope. When you run out of breath in the deep water, you pull the rope. Your partner pulls you safely back to the bright surface. Your entire life is completely in the hands of your partner. Kale trusted Jero with his own life every single day. One bright morning, they sailed to a dangerous and unexplored coral reef. Kale dove deep into the dark blue ocean water. He searched the sandy ocean floor, and he found a massive oyster. Inside the shell was the largest black pearl he had ever seen. It was a rare treasure that could feed an entire village for many years. Kale grabbed the black pearl, and he felt his lungs burning for fresh air. He pulled the heavy rope to signal his trusted partner. He waited for the strong upward pull, but absolutely nothing happened. He pulled the wet rope again, much harder this time. Suddenly, the rope fell completely slack in the water. Kale looked up toward the distant surface. He saw the severed rope slowly sinking into the dark ocean. Jero had cut the safety rope with a sharp knife. Jero had taken the wooden boat, and he had left Kale to die in the deep water. A terrifying panic instantly seized the mind of Kale. The cold ocean water felt like heavy iron crushing his tight chest. He realized his trusted brother had betrayed him for the sake of sudden greed. The rare black pearl in his hands suddenly felt completely worthless. Kale had a desperate choice to make in the dark water. He could easily give up and let the heavy ocean take his life. Or he could drop the heavy pearl and fight fiercely for his own survival. Kale opened his hand, and he let the rare treasure fall into the deep abyss. He stopped looking for the broken safety rope. He kicked his tired legs with all his remaining strength. He swam upward toward the faint sunlight dancing on the surface. His lungs were screaming in pure agony, but his spirit absolutely refused to die. Kale finally broke the surface, and he took a massive breath of sweet air. He survived the terrible and cruel betrayal. He swam for many hours until he reached a distant sandy shore. He laid on the warm sand, completely exhausted but fully alive. Kale lost his valuable treasure, and he lost his closest friend. But in that terrifying underwater darkness, he found something infinitely more valuable. He found his own unbreakable will to live. He realized that he did not actually need a rope to reach the light. He had the massive strength inside his own body the entire time. The betrayal of Jero was a horrific and deeply cruel act. The heavy karma of that cruel act belongs entirely to Jero. The universe will eventually balance that dark spiritual debt. But the massive strength gained in the dark water belongs entirely to Kale. This is the hidden spiritual truth about surviving severe betrayal. When someone unexpectedly cuts your safety rope, you feel like you are drowning. You firmly believe that you cannot survive without their love and support. But the universe sometimes removes these false supports to show you your true power. You are forced to swim entirely on your own. You are forced to discover the massive reservoir of strength hidden inside your soul. Betrayal burns away all your weak emotional dependencies. It destroys the comfortable illusions that keep your spirit small. The emotional pain is severe, but the resulting awakening is absolutely glorious. You step out of the dark water as a completely new person. You are no longer a fragile victim depending on external ropes. You become a fierce warrior of the bright light. You must not carry the heavy burden of hatred in your healed heart. Hating the person who betrayed you is like carrying a rotting weight on your back. It ruins your beautiful journey, and it severely poisons your mind. The person who betrayed you acted out of deep spiritual ignorance. They were completely blinded by greed, fear, or heavy delusion. Their harmful actions reflect their own internal suffering, not your true human value. You do not need to seek angry revenge against them. Karma is a flawless and precise universal accountant. Every single action creates an equal reaction in the vast fabric of time. Your only responsibility is to heal your own beautiful heart. You forgive them, not because their cruel actions were ever acceptable. You forgive them because your soul deserves absolute peace. When you release the burning anger, your deep wounds slowly turn into profound wisdom. The shattered pieces of your heart do not need to be thrown away into the dark. They can be carefully rearranged into something much stronger and more beautiful. Every deep cut leaves a visible scar, but scars are simply the proud marks of a true survivor. You begin to understand that a broken heart is actually a beautifully open heart. It is deeply open to higher frequencies of pure love and true compassion. The severe pain softens your rough edges and makes you deeply empathetic to the silent suffering of others. You realize that a perfect life without any pain often creates a very shallow soul. Great inner beauty is very often born from profound brokenness. You must begin to explore how deep flaws and heavy damages can be transformed into a true masterpiece. You must see how a dedicated creator handles a precious material that seems completely ruined by the world. Every deep wound leaves a visible mark on the human soul. You might look at your own heart and see only deep cracks. You might feel that your spirit is completely ruined by the heavy betrayals of the past. Society often tells you that broken things lose their absolute value. You are taught to hide your deep scars from the bright world. You desperately try to pretend that you are completely whole and untouched by pain. But perfection is a very cold and empty illusion. The most profound beauty in the universe is born from deep transformation. The universe is the ultimate artist. The universe knows exactly how to handle a broken heart. There was once a master sculptor named Covey. Covey lived in a small mountain village known for its brilliant white marble. He spent his entire life turning rough stones into magnificent statues. Kings and wealthy merchants traveled from distant lands just to buy his beautiful work. One quiet morning, Covey found a massive piece of pure white stone near a winding river. It was the most beautiful piece of marble he had ever seen in his long life. The stone glowed faintly under the warm morning sunlight. Covey knew immediately that this stone was destined for true greatness. He decided to carve a majestic statue of compassion to place in the center of the village. He brought the heavy stone into his dusty workshop. Covey worked on this single piece of marble for 3 long years. He chipped away the rough edges with extreme patience and deep love. He slowly revealed a beautiful face with gentle eyes and a warm smile. The statue was almost completely finished. It was a true masterpiece of human dedication. The entire village waited eagerly for the grand unveiling. On the final day, Covey took his smallest wooden hammer to polish the delicate chin. He tapped the white stone very gently. Suddenly, a loud cracking sound echoed through the quiet room. A hidden flaw inside the marble finally gave way. A massive crack split the beautiful face right down the middle. The pristine white stone broke into 3 large and jagged pieces. The young apprentices in the workshop gasped in absolute horror. They told Covey that the magnificent statue was completely ruined. They urged him to throw the broken pieces into the deep river. They told him to find a new stone and start the long process all over again. Covey stood in complete silence and stared at the broken marble. His tired eyes traced the deep jagged lines. He did not cry, and he did not show any bitter anger. He simply shook his head and smiled a very gentle smile. He told his young students that the stone was not ruined at all. He explained that the stone had simply revealed its true hidden nature. The marble was tired of being a single solid block. It wanted to become something completely different. Covey picked up his heavy tools once again. He did not try to glue the broken pieces back together. He completely abandoned his original plan. He let the natural cracks guide his entirely new artistic vision. For another entire year, he worked tirelessly with the broken fragments. He carved the first piece into a mother looking down with deep love. He carved the second piece into a small child reaching up toward the vast sky. He carved the third piece into a delicate lotus flower blooming beautifully between them. He polished the rough edges where the original stone had cracked. He turned the ugly flaw into a profound story of deep connection and endless growth. When the new sculpture was finally placed in the busy village square, people wept at its stunning beauty. It was no longer a single perfect face looking straight ahead. It was a dynamic masterpiece showing pure love, gentle birth, and high spiritual growth. The broken pieces created a wonderful depth that a solid stone could never achieve. The original flaw became the most essential part of the beautiful artwork. If the stone had never cracked, this profound beauty would never exist in the physical world. The villagers felt a deep sense of peace just by looking at the carved lotus flower. Your beautiful heart is exactly like that piece of white marble. You come into this world with a specific idea of who you are supposed to be. You build a rigid image of a perfect life, a perfect relationship, and a perfect future. You work extremely hard to maintain that flawless exterior. Then a sudden tragedy strikes your quiet world. A person you trust deeply leaves you without any warning. A sudden betrayal shatters your carefully planned reality. Your heart breaks into many sharp and jagged pieces. You look at the heavy damage, and you feel completely ruined. You feel like throwing the broken pieces away and giving up entirely. You think that no one will ever love a broken heart. But the universe is standing right there, just like the wise master sculptor. The universe does not see a ruined life. The universe sees a magnificent opportunity for a profound spiritual transformation. The painful crack in your heart is not a cruel punishment from the sky. It is the exact place where your rigid ego finally breaks apart. It is the exact place where true spiritual light enters your dark soul. You cannot force the broken pieces back into their original shape. The old version of yourself is completely gone forever. You must allow the universe to carve something entirely new out of your deep pain. The person who hurt you was simply the tiny hammer that revealed your hidden flaws. They struck the exact spot where you held the most heavy emotional attachment. They broke the false illusion that your true happiness depended on their constant presence. The sharp pain forced you to split open and expand your spiritual awareness. The new version of you will be much deeper and much more compassionate. You will no longer judge others for their deep flaws because you deeply understand the pain of breaking. You will easily become a safe sanctuary for other broken souls. You will show them that shattered pieces can be beautifully arranged into a breathtaking mosaic of light. Healing does not mean returning to the exact way things were before the heavy pain arrived. True healing means allowing the painful experience to completely reshape your human soul. It means accepting the deep cracks as an essential part of your unique personal story. You do not need to hide your emotional scars from the bright world. Your beautiful scars are the absolute proof that you survived the darkest storm. They loudly show the incredible strength and the endless resilience of your inner spirit. You must look at your own brokenness with eyes full of deep reverence. You must treat your own heart with the exact same patience that the sculptor gave to the broken stone. This profound transformation requires absolute surrender to the present moment. You must stop fighting against the harsh reality of the heavy emotional damage. You must release the desperate need to control the exact outcome of your long life. When you hold on too tightly to a specific vision, you suffer immensely. You expect the beautiful stone to remain perfectly solid forever. You expect everyday people to follow the exact script you wrote in your own mind. These heavy expectations are the invisible iron chains that keep your spirit bound to deep misery. You must begin to look closely at the heavy danger of holding on to these strict rules. You will soon discover how the powerful act of letting go brings the ultimate freedom to your weary soul. Why does love often turn into deep anger? You start a new relationship with pure joy. You feel light, and you feel completely free. But soon, a heavy weight creeps into your mind. This heavy weight is called expectation. You stop seeing the real person standing in front of you. You start seeing a character you created in your own head. You write a detailed script for their life. You demand that they speak the exact words you want to hear. You demand that they act exactly how you want them to act. When they follow your script, you feel happy. When they make a mistake, you feel completely betrayed. This is not true love. This is a subtle form of emotional control. Every human being carries their own unique karma. They have their own deep wounds, and they have their own beautiful dreams. You cannot force a wild river to flow in a perfectly straight line. If you try to block the water, it will eventually destroy your heavy stone walls. People are exactly like that wild river. When you place heavy expectations on their shoulders, they feel trapped. They feel that your love is highly conditional. They realize they must earn your affection by playing a specific role. This heavy pressure destroys the natural beauty of the human connection. The relationship becomes a stressful and tiring transaction. You simply trade your warm approval for their absolute obedience. Let us look at a story about an old animal trainer named Haroon. Haroon lived on the edge of a massive and windy desert. He was famous for training the most magnificent hunting birds. One day, a young and powerful wild falcon landed near his home. The bird had brilliant golden feathers and fierce dark eyes. Haroon decided to train this wild falcon for himself. He wanted the bird to catch prey exactly the way he commanded. He tied a strong leather strap to the leg of the bird. He kept the falcon inside a dark and quiet tent. He only fed the bird when it followed his strict orders. Haroon expected the falcon to become his most loyal and perfect servant. Months passed in the hot desert environment. The falcon learned to perfectly obey the commands of Haroon. But a sad and terrible change happened to the beautiful bird. Its bright golden feathers turned dull and gray. The fierce fire in its eyes completely died out. The falcon no longer looked like a proud king of the vast sky. It looked like a broken and defeated prisoner. One morning, Haroon took the bird outside to hunt in the open desert. He pointed to the sky, and he commanded the bird to fly fast. The falcon flew up into the air, but its flight was weak and slow. It circled slowly, and it returned to the arm of Haroon without catching anything. Haroon was furious and deeply disappointed. His perfect expectation was completely ruined by the weak bird. A wandering desert monk saw the angry bird trainer. The monk walked over, and he gently touched the dull feathers of the tired bird. The monk looked deeply into the eyes of Haroon, and he told him a profound truth. You can force a wild creature to obey your strict rules. You can bend its body to serve your daily needs. But you cannot force it to keep its beautiful and wild spirit. You traded the magnificent soul of the bird for your own selfish control. You killed the very thing you admired simply because you wanted it to serve you. Haroun felt a sudden piercing pain in his chest. He realized the deep cruelty of his heavy expectations. He took a sharp knife, and he quickly cut the thick leather strap. He threw the falcon high into the open sky, and he told it to go free forever. You often do the exact same thing to the people you deeply love. You tie heavy leather straps of expectation around their spiritual ankles. You expect your partner to always make you perfectly happy. You expect your children to fulfill your own unreached dreams. You expect your close friends to always agree with your opinions. You use these heavy expectations to fill a deep void inside your own soul. You feel empty, so you demand that others bring you joy. When they fail to meet these impossible standards, you get extremely angry. You blame them for breaking your fragile heart. But they did not break your heart. Your own rigid expectations broke your heart. The Buddha taught that attachment to a specific outcome is the ultimate root of massive suffering. You suffer deeply because you constantly argue with reality. Reality shows you one clear thing, but your mind demands something completely different. You fight against the truth of the present moment. This internal fight drains all your precious life energy. It leaves you feeling exhausted, bitter, and profoundly lonely. You push people away because no one can ever live up to the perfect image in your head. Human beings are inherently flawed, and they are prone to making mistakes. When you expect perfection from a human being, you set yourself up for absolute disappointment. True spiritual love requires absolute freedom. You must learn to love people exactly as they are in this very moment. You must stop trying to fix them or change their natural karmic path. When you drop all your heavy expectations, a beautiful miracle happens in your life. The heavy tension in your relationships completely disappears. You start to appreciate the small and wonderful surprises they bring into your daily life. You celebrate their unique journey even if it goes in a completely different direction. You realize that zero expectations equal infinite joy. You stand back, and you let the people in your life bloom naturally. You give them the safe and warm space to make their own vital mistakes. This profound acceptance is a massive step toward deep inner peace. You realize that trying to control others is a complete waste of your vital energy. Your energy is much better spent on healing your own deep wounds. You gently untie the heavy ropes of expectation from the people you love. You allow the river of life to flow naturally without building any thick dams. You watch them grow, and you watch them change with a heart full of pure grace. You become an observer of their beautiful journey instead of a harsh judge. This shift in your mind brings a cool breeze into your heated soul. But as you step back and watch people act freely, you will notice something deeply profound. When people act out their own karma, their actions often trigger strong emotions inside you. The specific things that irritate you about them are actually hidden clues. These emotional reactions are not random. They point directly to your own unresolved pain and your own hidden fears. You must now look closely at how the universe uses other people as clear and perfect mirrors. You must explore what their difficult behavior is truly reflecting about the hidden depths of your own soul. When a person walks into your life and causes you deep irritation, your immediate reaction is to point a sharp finger. You blame them for their bad behavior. You believe they are the sole cause of your heavy distress. You complain to your friends about their terrible actions. You spend many hours thinking about how wrong they are. You want the outside world to change so you can finally feel peace. But the universe does not work this way. The universe is a massive and highly polished mirror. The people around you are simply reflecting the hidden contents of your own mind. They do not create the anger inside you. They simply reveal the anger that was already sleeping inside your heart. If your heart is completely full of pure peace, an angry person cannot disturb you. You will simply look at their anger with deep compassion. You will understand that they are suffering immensely. But if their anger makes you furious, it means you have unresolved anger inside your own soul. The painful friction you feel with another human being is a vital spiritual alarm bell. It is exactly like a bright red light blinking on a machine. The light tells you that an internal engine needs immediate attention. You usually ignore the engine and yell at the bright red light. You try to smash the light to make the annoying blinking stop. Breaking the mirror will never fix the actual problem. You must look closely at what the mirror is showing you. Consider an ancient story about a very proud warrior named Varan. Varan lived in a rough and violent kingdom. He was known for his fierce temper and his quick sword. He believed that the entire world was full of dangerous enemies. One day, Varan traveled to a distant and peaceful city. In the exact center of this quiet city stood a massive temple. The walls of this temple were made entirely of highly polished silver. It was completely empty inside. Varan walked into the temple to seek shelter from the hot sun. As he stepped into the main hall, he saw a fierce warrior staring back at him. He saw a man with a deeply angry face and a hand resting on a heavy sword. Varan instantly felt a massive surge of pure rage. He believed this stranger was challenging his honor. Varan drew his sharp sword and let out a loud battle cry. The warrior in the silver wall also drew a sword and screamed back silently. Varan attacked the silver wall with all his massive strength. He swung his heavy sword again and again. Every time he struck, the enemy matched his exact move perfectly. Varan fought for many exhausting hours. He was dripping with heavy sweat, and his muscles burned with terrible pain. He finally collapsed onto the smooth stone floor. He was completely defeated by this tireless enemy. A quiet temple caretaker walked into the bright room. The caretaker saw the exhausted warrior lying on the floor. The caretaker gently asked Varan why he was fighting the solid wall. Varan pointed his shaking finger at the polished silver. He complained that the angry stranger attacked him without any mercy. The caretaker smiled softly and handed Varan a cool bowl of water. The caretaker explained that there was no enemy in the beautiful room. The silver wall was simply a massive mirror. The terrifying enemy was just the own angry reflection of Varan. Varan had exhausted himself by fighting his own internal violence. He created his own harsh battle because his heart was already full of war. This profound story illustrates exactly how human beings interact with the world. You walk into a new relationship carrying your heavy bags of unhealed wounds. You carry deep fears of abandonment and heavy feelings of deep unworthiness. When your partner acts distant, your deep fear of abandonment is violently triggered. You accuse them of not loving you enough. You start a massive emotional war to protect your fragile ego. You fight them with harsh words and cold silence. You exhaust your beautiful soul trying to change their natural behavior. But your partner is simply the polished silver wall in the temple. They are only reflecting your own deep fear of being entirely unlovable. The traits that bother you the most in other people are often the exact traits you hate inside yourself. If you deeply hate selfish people, it might be because you deny your own natural needs. You force yourself to always please others, and you secretly resent it. When you see someone acting freely and selfishly, your suppressed resentment explodes. You judge them harshly to avoid looking at your own massive exhaustion. If you are deeply irritated by arrogant people, it might highlight your own deep insecurities. You must become incredibly honest with your own mind to see this hidden dynamic. You must swallow your human pride and stop acting like a flawless saint. When you finally understand the mirror principle, your entire life changes completely. The people who hurt you are no longer your bitter enemies. They become your most valuable spiritual guides. They show you the exact dark corners of your soul that need warm light. The next time someone triggers a terrible reaction inside you, you must stop immediately. You must pull your pointing finger back toward your own chest. You take a very deep breath, and you ask a profound question. You ask what this intense pain says about your own unhealed heart. You stop demanding an apology from the outside world. You start offering deep comfort to your own wounded spirit. You can see this clear mirror in your daily family life. A parent might yell at a child for being too loud or too messy. The parent believes the child is the only cause of the sudden headache. But the parent is actually carrying immense stress from a heavy workday. The innocent noise of the child simply breaks the thin layer of emotional control. The child is simply the mirror showing the profound exhaustion of the parent. When the parent realizes this truth, the harsh yelling stops immediately. The parent takes responsibility for their own deep fatigue. They apologize to the innocent mirror, and they choose to rest instead of fighting. You must apply this exact same gentle wisdom to every single human relationship. You must own your deep feelings without pushing them onto someone else. This simple shift in perspective gives you massive spiritual power. You stop being a helpless victim of the bad behavior of other people. You become the absolute master of your own emotional healing. You realize that no one can ever inject anger into your clean veins. They can only step on the painful thorns that are already buried in your skin. Your profound job is not to punish the person who stepped on your foot. Your spiritual job is to carefully remove the sharp thorn from your own flesh. Once the deep wound is completely healed, no one can ever hurt you in that exact same spot again. They can step there 100 times, and you will feel absolutely nothing but pure peace. The world is completely full of difficult people. You cannot hide from them in a dark cave. You must walk among them with a deeply open heart. You use their difficult actions to polish your own beautiful soul. You bless them quietly for showing you the difficult truth about yourself. You clean your own internal mirror until it reflects nothing but pure compassion. As your internal world becomes deeply peaceful, your external world naturally follows. The intense drama completely leaves your daily life. But achieving this permanent peace requires a radical shift in your daily identity. You must completely drop the comfortable story of being treated unfairly. You must learn how to let go of the heavy narrative that keeps you trapped in endless sorrow. When terrible things happen, the human mind naturally looks for someone to blame. You point your finger at the cruel world. You cry in the dark room, and you ask the universe a very painful question. You ask why this tragedy had to happen to you. You recount your good deeds. You remind the sky that you have always been a kind person. You feel completely justified in your deep anger. This heavy feeling is called the victim mindset. It is a very warm and comfortable blanket for a broken ego. It tells you that you are entirely innocent, and the outside world is entirely evil. It allows you to avoid looking deep into your own karmic lessons. The victim mindset is actually a hidden trap. It is a dark prison that you lock yourself inside. As long as you ask why this happened, you remain completely stuck in the painful past. You give all your personal power away to the person who hurt you. You make them the absolute master of your daily happiness. The universe will never answer the question of why. The universe only responds when you ask a much higher question. You must stop asking why this happened to you. You must start asking what this experience is trying to teach you. This small shift in perspective changes the entire trajectory of your human life. It instantly turns your bitter pain into profound wisdom. There is a profound story about a dedicated scholar named Jean. Jean lived in a very small and poor village. He spent 10 long years studying ancient texts and complex laws. His only dream was to travel to the great capital and pass the royal exam. He wanted to become the chief advisor to the powerful emperor. Jean sold everything he owned to buy his precious study scrolls. He memorized every single word with absolute dedication. Finally, the day of the great journey arrived. Jean packed his small bag and walked towards the distant capital city. He was full of bright hope and immense pride. On the second night of his journey, Jean slept in a cheap roadside inn. While he was sleeping deeply, a clever thief entered his dark room. The thief stole his bag, his money, and all his precious scrolls. When Jean woke up, he found nothing but an empty room. He was completely devastated. He could not take the royal exam without his official papers. He was forced to walk back to his poor village in absolute shame. For 3 long years, Jean lived in a deep state of bitter victimhood. He complained to anyone who would listen. He cursed the thief every single day. He stopped reading, and he stopped learning. He believed the harsh universe had completely destroyed his beautiful destiny. One cold afternoon, a royal messenger rode into the small village. The messenger nailed a public notice to the wooden village board. Jean walked over to read the heavy ink. The notice declared that the powerful emperor had gone completely mad. The emperor suspected a massive rebellion in the royal court. In his paranoid anger, the emperor had executed all of his royal advisors. Every single scholar who passed the exam 3 years ago was now dead. Jean stood frozen in front of the wooden board. The heavy air escaped his lungs. His heart pounded wildly in his tight chest. In that sudden moment of absolute clarity, the thick veil of victimhood completely fell away. Jean realized a profound and shocking truth. The thief who stole his precious scrolls was not a cruel enemy. The thief was actually an agent of divine protection. If Jean had kept his bag and passed the royal exam, he would be dead today. The terrible tragedy that ruined his proud dream had actually saved his precious life. The universe had forcefully redirected his path to protect him from a terrible disaster. Jean fell to his knees right there in the dirt. He did not curse the universe anymore. He wept tears of absolute gratitude for the unknown thief. This story perfectly illustrates the massive danger of the victim mentality. You only see a very tiny fraction of the grand cosmic picture. You judge a situation as terrible because it breaks your immediate plans. You think you know exactly what is best for your own life. But the universe has a much higher vantage point. The universe sees the hidden dangers waiting for you down the road. Sometimes, the universe must break your heart to save your soul. A sudden rejection from a job might protect you from a toxic environment. A painful breakup might save you from a lifetime of massive emotional abuse. The universe removes certain people and things for your own ultimate safety. Think about your own daily life and the stories you repeat to yourself. You wake up and you remember the person who betrayed you. You tell the story to your close friends over and over again. Every time you tell the story, you inject more anger into your own physical body. Your shoulders become very tight. Your stomach feels completely tied in heavy knots. You are drinking emotional poison every single morning. The person who hurt you is completely unaware of your daily suffering. They are living their own life, while you remain trapped in a prison of your own making. This is the ultimate tragedy of the victim mindset. You become your own cruelest jailer. From the clear perspective of karma, there are no victims and there are no pure villains. There are only deeply flawed human beings walking a long path of spiritual evolution. Everyone is caught in a massive web of cause and effect. The person who harmed you acted out of their own severe ignorance. They are creating heavy negative karma for their own future. You do not need to curse them, because the universal law will perfectly balance their actions. Your only spiritual duty is to balance your own mind. When you fully understand this, you stop seeking petty human revenge. You simply step aside and let the universe handle the complex math of karma. When you constantly play the role of the victim, you become completely blind to these hidden blessings. You hold on to the painful story of your deep loss. You refuse to move forward. You must realize that you are not a helpless leaf blown around by a cruel wind. You are an active participant in your own spiritual evolution. Every single hardship is a carefully designed lesson. When someone betrays you, they are teaching you about true self-reliance. When someone abandons you, they are forcing you to discover your own internal completeness. You are a student in the great school of life, and every painful experience is a master teacher. Stepping out of the victim role requires immense bravery. It is much easier to sit in the dark and blame the harsh world. It takes massive courage to stand up, look at your broken pieces, and take responsibility for your own healing. You must consciously rewrite the narrative inside your head. When the mind whispers that you were completely destroyed, you must answer back firmly. You must tell your mind that you were not destroyed at all. You were simply reshaped into something much stronger. You tell your mind that every deep scar is a beautiful badge of honor. You are not a fragile object broken by the harsh storm. You are a massive mountain that survived the violent weather. This shift in language changes the chemical structure of your brain. Your energy returns, and your eyes become bright again. You start looking for new opportunities instead of dwelling on old losses. You begin to treat yourself with profound respect and deep kindness. You stop waiting for an apology that might never arrive. You apologize to yourself for holding on to the painful poison for so long. You forgive yourself for believing the dark illusion of victimhood. This profound self-forgiveness is the golden key to absolute emotional freedom. Releasing this victim identity is the most liberating act of your entire life. You stop waiting for the outside world to come and rescue you. You rescue yourself with the bright light of your own awareness. You look back at your darkest moments and you whisper a quiet thank you. You thank the harsh lessons for making you so incredibly strong. You step entirely out of the dark shadow of the past. You step into the brilliant light of the present moment. This newfound strength prepares you for the ultimate spiritual test. Once you stop complaining about what you have lost, you must face the profound emptiness. You must explore what happens when the universe strips absolutely everything away. You will journey into the deep silence where true inner wealth is finally discovered. Have you ever stood in the middle of a completely ruined dream? You worked so hard to build a beautiful and secure life. You gathered the right people around you. You saved your money, and you planned your future perfectly. You felt completely safe in your small and comfortable world. Then a sudden storm arrived without any warning. It swept away everything you loved in a single moment. You are left standing in the cold ashes of your old life. You look down at your empty hands. You feel a terrifying void inside your chest. You wonder how you can possibly survive with absolutely nothing left. This terrifying emptiness is a universal human experience. It is the exact moment when the universe asks you a very profound question. The universe asks who you truly are when all your titles and your possessions are completely gone. People spend decades building a heavy armor of worldly success. You buy a nice house to feel entirely safe. You seek a prestigious job to feel deeply important. You hold on to specific relationships to feel truly loved. These external things are not inherently bad. But they are completely fragile and entirely temporary. They can be destroyed by a sudden illness, a market crash, or a simple change of heart. When you build your entire identity on fragile things, you live in constant hidden fear. You are always terrified of losing your precious treasures. This deep fear makes your mind restless and extremely tired. You become a nervous guard standing perfectly still outside your own treasury. You forget how to actually live and enjoy the bright world. There was once a wealthy desert trader named Soren. Soren traveled across the vast and dangerous sand dunes. He owned a massive caravan of 40 strong camels. His camels carried heavy silk, sweet spices, and bright gold coins. Soren believed his massive wealth made him a truly great man. He measured his entire human worth by the heavy weight of his gold. He looked down on the poor villagers, and he trusted absolutely no one. One dark night, a massive sandstorm hit his quiet camp. The fierce wind howled exactly like a hungry beast. The flying sand quickly buried his large tents. The terrified camels broke their ropes and ran away into the dark night. When the bright morning sun finally arrived, Soren slowly opened his eyes. He was lying completely alone on the empty white sand. Every single camel was entirely gone. Every piece of bright gold was buried forever under the deep dunes. He had absolutely nothing left in the world. He only had the dusty clothes on his back. He only had the quiet breath in his tired lungs. At first, Soren panicked wildly. He dug into the hot sand with his bare hands. He screamed at the empty blue sky. He cried bitterly for his lost fortune. He felt completely empty and entirely ruined. He thought his life was completely over because his wealth was gone. Soren sat in the quiet desert for 3 long days. He had no food, and he had no water. He was entirely stripped of his proud identity. On the 3rd night, a deep and profound silence entered his chaotic mind. He stopped crying, and he looked up at the bright desert stars. For the first time in his entire adult life, he was not worrying about protecting his heavy gold. He was not calculating his daily profits. He was not afraid of clever thieves in the dark. The heavy burden of protecting his massive wealth was completely gone. He took a very deep breath of the cool desert air. He felt a strange and profound inner peace. He felt lighter than a floating feather. Soren realized a shocking and beautiful truth in that quiet moment. The fierce storm did not actually steal his life. The storm simply stole his heavy iron chains. His massive wealth had been a beautiful and comfortable prison. He had spent his entire life serving his gold, instead of his gold serving him. He slowly stood up and began to walk toward a distant village. He walked out of the hot desert as a completely poor man. But his spiritual soul was infinitely richer than ever before. He had finally found the quiet treasure of absolute inner stillness. He knew that no thief could ever steal this deep peace from his heart. This is the profound spiritual lesson of losing absolutely everything. The painful process of loss is actually a brutal but necessary purification. The universe is not punishing you for your past mistakes. The universe is simply emptying your full and tired hands. If your hands are completely full of heavy stones, you cannot receive a beautiful glowing diamond. The universe must force you to drop the heavy stones. The sudden loss creates a massive empty space in your daily life. Human beings are deeply afraid of empty spaces. You immediately try to fill the terrifying void with new daily distractions. You rush quickly into a new relationship. You work much longer hours. You buy more useless things. But you must firmly resist this frantic human urge. You must learn to sit quietly inside the painful emptiness. Sitting quietly in the dark void takes massive spiritual courage. The inner silence is very loud and very scary at first. It echoes with your deepest hidden fears and your old regrets. Your mind will try to torture you with painful memories of what you lost. But if you stay very still and breathe deeply, the loud noise slowly fades away. You start to hear the gentle and warm whisper of your own soul. You realize that your true essence cannot be destroyed by any worldly storm. You are the deep and calm ocean, not the turbulent waves crashing on the surface. True wealth is simply the absolute ability to remain calm when the outside world is chaotic. It is the profound knowing that you are completely enough just as you are. You do not need another person to constantly validate your daily existence. You do not need a large bank account to prove your true human worth. You do not need a perfect reputation to feel deep peace. You are entirely whole and completely perfect in this exact breath. Everything you lost was simply a temporary tool for your long journey. The tools are gone, but the beautiful traveler remains completely intact. The empty hands are the only hands that can truly embrace the vast universe. As you embrace this beautiful and profound emptiness, a sudden lightness enters your physical body. You stop demanding impossible things from the harsh outside world. You stop fighting the natural and wild flow of your daily life. You look back at the specific people who walked away from you. You look closely at the people who caused your deepest and most painful wounds. You realize that holding on to bitter resentment is exactly like holding on to those heavy stones in the desert. The heavy pain is no longer serving your beautiful spiritual journey. The heavy anger is only keeping you trapped in the hot sand. You must now face the ultimate challenge of the high spiritual path. You have survived the storm, and you have found your deep inner strength. But there is still one dark shadow lingering in the corners of your mind. It is the memory of the person who broke your deep trust. You must look deeply into the true nature of profound mercy and human compassion. You must discover how releasing your bitter anger is the final golden key. This key will unlock the ultimate door to your absolute spiritual freedom. You will explore how true forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with the other person. Have you ever tried to forgive someone who completely destroyed your trust? You hear people say that you must forgive and forget. You try your best to let it go. But every time you close your eyes, the bitter pain rushes back. You feel a burning fire in your chest. You think that forgiving them means their cruel actions were perfectly fine. You think that forgiveness is a free pass for their bad behavior. So you hold on to your deep anger. You hold on to your sharp resentment exactly like a powerful shield. You believe this anger will protect you from getting hurt again. But you must ask yourself a very honest question. Is this heavy anger really protecting you, or is it slowly destroying you from the inside? Forgiveness is the most misunderstood concept in the entire world. Society teaches you that forgiveness is a gift you give to the person who hurt you. The teachings of the Buddha reveal a completely different truth. Forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with the other person. The other person does not even need to know that you forgave them. Forgiveness is a beautiful gift that you give entirely to your own soul. It is the brave act of unlocking your own prison cell. Holding on to resentment is exactly like drinking a deadly poison and expecting the other person to die. The poison only burns your own throat. The poison only ruins your own beautiful life. Let us explore a story about a very famous archer named Rian. Rian lived in a quiet village surrounded by a dense forest. He was the most accurate archer in the entire kingdom. He had a very jealous rival named Bora. Bora could never beat Rian in any archery contest. One dark evening, Bora hid in the thick bushes. As Rian walked by, Bora shot a sharp arrow directly into the shoulder of Rian. Bora ran away into the dark night. Rian fell to the ground in terrible pain. The village doctor quickly arrived and pulled the bloody arrow out of his deep wound. The doctor cleaned the shoulder and wrapped it in white cloth. The doctor told Rian to rest and throw the arrow away. But Rian completely refused to throw the arrow away. He took the sharp wooden arrow and placed it carefully on his dining table. Every single morning, Rian woke up and looked at the arrow. He touched the sharp metal point. He replayed the terrible night in his mind. He fueled his bitter anger with dark thoughts of violent revenge. He promised himself that he would use this exact arrow to kill Bora one day. Months turned into many long years. The physical wound on his shoulder completely healed. It left only a small white scar. But Rian never returned to his joyful life. He stopped practicing his beautiful archery. He stopped smiling at his kind neighbors. His entire existence revolved around the sharp arrow on his table. A wise traveling monk visited the quiet village one bright morning. The monk knocked on the door of Rian to ask for some simple food. Rian invited the monk inside his dark house. The monk immediately noticed the sharp arrow sitting on the table. The monk also noticed the heavy darkness in the eyes of Rian. The monk gently asked Rian why he kept such a terrible object in his beautiful home. Rian proudly explained his dark plan for revenge. He said the arrow kept his memory sharp. He said the anger made him feel incredibly strong. The monk listened with deep compassion and a gentle sigh. The monk told Rian that Bora shot him only one time in the dark forest. But Rian had been shooting himself with that exact same arrow every single morning for 5 years. Bora inflicted a temporary physical pain. Rian inflicted a permanent mental torture upon his own soul. The monk explained that the heavy anger did not hurt Bora at all. Bora was living his own life somewhere far away. The anger only paralyzed Rian. It stole his profound joy, his great talent, and his precious time. Rian stared at the old arrow, and his eyes filled with warm tears. He finally saw the terrible truth. He took the arrow, walked outside, and threw it deep into the fast river. As the arrow floated away, a massive weight completely vanished from his tired shoulders. This story is a perfect mirror for your own internal struggles. When someone hurts you deeply, they shoot an arrow into your fragile heart. The initial pain is absolutely real, and it is entirely unfair. But when you refuse to forgive, you keep the painful arrow on your mental table. You pick it up every single day. You stab your own heart with the painful memory over and over again. You completely destroy your own present peace because of a past event. The person who hurt you might have moved on long ago. They might be entirely happy and completely unaware of your daily suffering. Yet you continue to drink the bitter poison of resentment. You must deeply understand the precise mechanics of human karma. Every action has a perfect and unavoidable consequence. The person who betrayed you created a heavy karmic debt for their own soul. The universe is a flawless accountant. The universe will balance their debt at the perfect time, and in the perfect way. It is not your spiritual job to punish them. It is not your duty to ensure they suffer for their bad actions. When you seek human revenge, you actually interfere with the divine law of karma. You create new negative karma for yourself. You tie a heavy invisible rope between your soul and their soul. This thick rope keeps you permanently attached to the exact person you deeply hate. Forgiveness is the powerful blade that cuts this invisible karmic rope. When you forgive, you release the heavy burden into the vast hands of the universe. You say to the universe that this heavy pain is no longer yours to carry. You declare that you trust the grand cosmic justice. You choose to reclaim your bright energy for your own beautiful healing. This process does not happen overnight. It is a daily spiritual practice. Every time the bitter memory arises in your mind, you must take a very deep breath. You consciously choose to drop the sharp arrow. You consciously choose to stop drinking the deadly poison. You might wonder how you can forgive someone who never said they were sorry. You must realize that an apology is just a collection of human words. An apology from them will not magically heal your deep wound. The true healing can only come from your own conscious choice to let go. You forgive them in complete silence. You look at their hurtful actions through the clear lens of spiritual compassion. You realize they acted out of their own profound ignorance and their own unhealed trauma. A truly happy and spiritually whole person never destroys the life of another human being. They only hurt you because they were completely lost in their own internal darkness. When you see their spiritual ignorance, your bitter anger naturally transforms into a quiet pity. You do not invite them back into your peaceful life. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. You can completely forgive a dangerous person from a very safe distance. You simply wish them spiritual awakening, and you firmly close the door. Your heart becomes completely clean and incredibly light. You are no longer defined by the terrible things that happen to you. You are defined by your immense courage to overcome the dark pain. You step into a new chapter of your life with a pure and unbroken spirit. As you drop the heavy chains of resentment, your clear eyes open to a beautiful new reality. You begin to look back at the entire painful journey with a completely different perspective. You start to see the profound magic hidden inside the dark tragedy. What once felt like a cruel rejection slowly reveals itself as a divine protection. You begin to understand that the universe was secretly guiding you the entire time. You must now explore how heavy losses and painful endings are completely redesigned by the universe. You will discover how a closed door always forces you to find a much better path. Have you ever knocked on a heavy door until your hands bled? You wanted a specific job with all your heart. You desperately wanted a specific person to love you. You prayed for a specific outcome every single night. But the heavy door remained completely locked. You felt a bitter sting of harsh rejection. You walked away feeling completely unwanted and deeply unloved. You thought the universe was extremely cruel to you. You thought your beautiful dreams were completely ignored. This feeling of rejection is a massive stone on the human heart. It makes you question your own self-worth. It makes you wonder if you are truly good enough for the bright world. The human mind has a very narrow view of time. You only see what is happening right in front of your eyes. You only see the immediate pain of the closed door. You cannot see what is waiting for you on the other side of the high wall. You cannot see the hidden dangers hiding in the dark future. In the vast teachings of karma, nothing is ever denied without a profound reason. The universe does not reject you to cause you unnecessary pain. The universe rejects you to offer you absolute protection. What feels like a cruel rejection is very often a divine redirection. Consider a story about a hard-working farmer named Kalen. Kalen lived on the edge of a very wide and fast river. Across the wide river was a massive and wealthy city. Every single year, the city held a grand harvest festival. Kalen grew the most beautiful golden apples in the entire valley. He dreamed of crossing the river to sell his sweet apples. He knew the wealthy merchants would pay a high price for his heavy baskets. He spent an entire year building a sturdy wooden boat. He carved the strong wood with deep love and high hopes. He imagined the bright gold coins he would bring back to his small farm. He imagined a beautiful and comfortable life for his family. The day before the grand festival finally arrived. Kalen loaded his heavy boat with all his beautiful golden apples. He tied the boat safely to a large tree near the water. That exact night, a sudden and violent storm hit the quiet valley. The fierce wind howled, and the heavy rain fell without any mercy. When the bright morning sun finally arrived, Kalen ran to the fast river. His sturdy wooden boat was completely gone. The violent storm had smashed the boat against the sharp rocks. His beautiful apples were floating away in the muddy water. Kalen fell into the wet mud and wept bitterly. He cursed the terrible storm. He believed his entire year of hard work was completely wasted. He felt entirely ruined by the harsh universe. 3 days later, a tired traveler walked past the quiet farm. The traveler looked terrified and deeply exhausted. Kalen offered the stranger a cup of clean water. The traveler told a dark and terrifying story. On the exact day of the grand festival, a deadly sickness struck the wealthy city. It spread completely out of control. The massive city gates were firmly locked by the royal guards. No one was allowed to leave the infected streets. Everyone who attended the grand festival fell terribly ill. Kalen stood completely frozen. He dropped his wooden cup into the dirt. He looked at the fast river, and a deep silence washed over his soul. The violent storm did not ruin his life. The violent storm completely saved his precious life. The loss of his wooden boat was a massive blessing in disguise. The universe works in this exact same mysterious way for everyone. You cry over a romantic relationship that suddenly ended. You do not realize that the universe heard hidden conversations you never heard. The universe saw dangerous red flags that your blind love completely ignored. The universe removed that specific person to save you from a lifetime of massive emotional abuse. You cry over a great job opportunity that you completely failed to get. You do not realize that the job would have entirely destroyed your physical health. The painful closed door was actually a massive shield of divine armor. The universe loves you entirely too much to let you walk blindly into a hidden fire. This profound understanding completely changes how you view a deep loss. You stop banging your tired fists against locked doors. You realize that a locked door is a clear and loving message. The message says that this specific path is not meant for your beautiful soul. It is a gentle push toward a much better and safer direction. You must learn to trust the perfect timing of your own life. You must trust that the universe is always working in your absolute favor. Even when the current situation feels terribly painful, a hidden blessing is always growing in the dark dirt. A beautiful seed must first break completely open in the dark soil before it can see the warm sun. The human ego desperately wants to be in absolute control of everything. The ego writes a detailed map for your long life. The ego tells you exactly when you should find perfect love. The ego tells you exactly how much money you should have in the bank. When the universe rips this fragile map apart, the ego screams in pure terror. The ego hates sudden changes and unexpected detours. But your spiritual soul is completely calm during the massive storm. Your soul knows that the map was always a complete illusion. The soul knows that the true path is completely unwritten. The soul gracefully surrenders to the brilliant wisdom of the grand universe. Surrendering does not mean giving up on your beautiful life. It simply means dropping the heavy resistance in your tight muscles. You can actually feel this deep surrender in your physical body. Your tight jaw finally relaxes. Your high shoulders drop down softly. The heavy knot in your stomach completely dissolves. You stop fighting the strong current of the fast river. You simply float on the cool water and let the river carry you. The river of karma always flows toward your absolute highest good. You simply need to stop swimming fiercely against the powerful water. Letting go of your rigid plans requires a massive amount of spiritual trust. You must accept that your personal vision is incredibly limited. When a sudden loss happens, you take a very deep breath. You allow the painful tears to flow freely down your face. You do not suppress your real human emotions. But underneath the temporary sadness, you plant a firm seed of pure faith. You whisper a quiet thank you to the vast and unseen forces. You thank the universe for protecting your fragile heart. You prepare your quiet mind for the completely new path that is about to open. The people who leave your life are simply clearing the necessary space. If your small house is completely full of broken furniture, you cannot bring in a beautiful new bed. The universe must completely clear out the old energy to make room for the new light. The people who truly belong in your life will never have to be forced to stay. They will enter your world naturally, and they will stay with pure joy. They will appreciate your bright spirit, and they will honor your deep boundaries. The heavy loss you feel today is simply making absolute room for a much greater love tomorrow. You must be deeply patient and keep your heart completely open to the bright sky. As you start to clearly see these hidden blessings, your entire identity undergoes a massive shift. You stop looking at the harsh world with fearful and highly suspicious eyes. You realize that absolutely nothing is happening to you by random chance. Everything is happening precisely and perfectly for you. Every single painful event is a highly tailored lesson designed for your own spiritual growth. This beautiful realization lifts you entirely out of the dark mud of deep sorrow. You are no longer a fragile victim suffering in the dark. You are stepping into a profound place of intense learning. You must now look closely at how to fully wear this powerful new identity. You will explore how to turn every single tear into a stepping stone of massive wisdom. You wake up in the quiet morning. You feel a heavy weight pressing down on your chest. You look at the blank ceiling. You think about the terrible things that happened to you. You remember the people who broke your fragile trust. You tell yourself that you are entirely unlucky. You believe that you are a helpless victim of a very cruel world. This feeling is completely natural. It is the immediate human reaction to deep pain. But staying in this dark place is very dangerous. It drains your vital energy completely. It leaves you feeling weak and entirely defeated. You must make a profound choice today. You must drop the heavy identity of the victim. You must embrace the powerful identity of a spiritual student. The entire universe is a massive and ancient school. It is not a place of random chaos. It is a place of highly structured learning. Every single human being is an enrolled student in this grand school. Karma is the invisible curriculum designed specifically for your soul. You do not get to choose your specific lessons. The universe selects the exact lessons you need for your ultimate growth. Sometimes the lesson is about pure love and gentle kindness. These are the easy and joyful classes. But the most important lessons are usually very difficult. They require heavy tears and profound heartbreak. The people who cause you the most pain are simply your strictest teachers. They are assigned by the universe to test your spiritual limits. Let us look at a story about a young sailor named Elian. Elian lived in a beautiful coastal village. He loved the bright blue ocean. He loved sailing on calm and peaceful waters. He wanted to become the greatest ship captain in the entire world. He became an apprentice to a very famous and old navigator named Finn. Elian expected Finn to teach him how to find the calmest routes. He expected gentle days under the warm sun. But Finn did the exact opposite. Every time a dark storm appeared on the distant horizon, Finn forced Elian to sail the small wooden boat directly into the terrible weather. The angry waves crashed against the fragile boat. The cold rain blinded the eyes of the young sailor. Elian was completely terrified every single time. He begged the old master to turn the boat around. But Finn just sat quietly and forced Elian to steer through the massive waves. Elian grew to deeply hate the old navigator. He felt entirely victimized by the harsh training. He thought Finn was a cruel and crazy old man who simply enjoyed watching him suffer. He believed he was the most unlucky apprentice in the entire village. Many years passed by. Elian became a strong young man. One dark evening, a massive and unexpected hurricane struck the entire coastal fleet. The hurricane arrived without any warning. The other young captains panicked completely. They only knew how to sail in perfect weather. Their beautiful ships were completely destroyed by the violent waves. But Elian did not panic at all. His hands were completely steady on the heavy wooden wheel. His mind was incredibly clear in the dark storm. He navigated the terrifying hurricane with absolute perfection. He saved his own ship, and he saved many other drowning sailors. When the bright morning sun finally arrived, Elian looked at the calm water. He suddenly realized a profound and beautiful truth. The old master was never torturing him. Finn was giving him the ultimate masterclass in deep-sea survival. Finn knew that calm waters never make a truly skilled sailor. Finn pushed Elian into the dark storms to build his absolute resilience. The harsh lessons were actually acts of profound and tough love. Elian fell to his knees on the wet wooden deck. He wept with massive gratitude for the strict old teacher. He realized he was never a helpless victim of a cruel master. He was the chosen student of a brilliant guide. Your own life is exactly like this turbulent ocean. The people who betray you are exactly like the dark storms. They force you into terrifying emotional waters. You feel like you are completely drowning in heavy sorrow. You beg the universe to make the terrible pain stop. You feel deeply victimized by their cruel behavior. But you must look closely at what happens after the storm passes. You discover a massive reservoir of inner strength that you never knew existed. You learn how to calm your own chaotic mind. You learn how to survive the darkest emotional nights. You become an absolute master of your own human soul. When you fully accept your role as a student, everything changes completely. You stop asking the universe to give you an easy life. You start asking the universe to give you the massive strength to endure the heavy lessons. A victim constantly looks for someone to blame. A victim wants the outside world to apologize. But a true spiritual student looks for the hidden wisdom. A student wants to extract the golden lesson from the dark mud. When a difficult person enters your life, you do not run away in deep fear. You observe their actions closely. You ask your soul what this strict teacher is trying to show you. This powerful shift in your mind brings absolute emotional freedom. You take your personal power back from the people who hurt you. They are no longer the cruel masters of your daily happiness. They are simply temporary actors playing a specific role in your grand spiritual education. Once you learn the specific lesson they brought, their role is completely finished. The universe will naturally remove them from your peaceful stage. You do not need to hold on to bitter anger. You can simply bow your head in quiet gratitude. You thank them for the difficult class, and you gracefully move forward. Resilience is not a magical gift given to a lucky few. Resilience is a spiritual muscle that must be constantly exercised. Every time you survive a painful betrayal, your resilience muscle becomes much stronger. You build a thick spiritual armor around your beautiful heart. This armor is not made of cold walls or bitter resentment. It is made of pure wisdom and profound self-awareness. You know that no matter what happens in the external world, you will always survive. You will always find your way back to the bright surface. You become entirely fearless in the face of human connections. Stepping into this powerful student identity requires daily practice. You must be deeply patient with your own fragile heart. Some days the heavy pain will return. You will want to cry and complain about the harsh unfairness of life. You must allow yourself to feel those real human emotions. But you must not let those emotions define your entire identity. You wipe your wet eyes, and you open your spiritual notebook again. You remind yourself that you are attending the most prestigious school in the universe. Your graduation prize is absolute inner peace and complete spiritual enlightenment. As you review the difficult lessons of your past, you will notice many confusing patterns. You will see how certain painful events are deeply connected to other painful events. You will realize that your human relationships are exactly like a massive pile of tangled threads. Your strict teachers have left many complex knots in your energetic field. You must now learn the delicate art of untangling these invisible karmic knots. You will discover how patience and gentle care can turn a messy disaster into a breathtaking work of art. You will explore the beautiful story of a highly skilled weaver who never cuts a tangled thread. Human relationships are exactly like incredibly delicate silk threads. When you meet someone new, your two threads slowly begin to intertwine. You weave a beautiful pattern together through shared laughter and deep conversations. The pattern looks completely perfect in the very beginning. But life is rarely a calm and perfectly controlled environment. Sudden winds of misunderstanding constantly blow through your daily life. Heavy storms of stress and hidden fears disrupt the beautiful weaving process. Very quickly, the smooth silk threads become completely tangled. A massive and ugly knot forms right in the middle of your beautiful relationship. You look at the heavy mess, and you feel entirely overwhelmed. You feel a strong urge to grab a pair of sharp scissors. You want to cut the messy knot completely out of your life. This urge to cut ties violently is a very common human reaction. When someone hurts you, the deep pain makes you extremely impatient. You do not want to deal with the complex emotional mess. You block their phone number. You refuse to speak to them ever again. You tell yourself that cutting them off is the only way to protect your peace. You believe that throwing the tangled mess away will instantly solve your problem. But the ancient wisdom of karma teaches a very different approach. Cutting a karmic thread in deep anger never actually solves the root problem. It only creates a massive and permanent hole in your own spiritual fabric. Consider a beautiful story about a highly skilled weaver named Lyra. Lyra lived in a busy market town known for its bright textiles. She was the most patient and talented artist in the entire region. She used the finest and most expensive silk threads to create breathtaking tapestries. Wealthy families traveled for many weeks just to buy her magnificent work. One day, Lyra was working on her absolute masterpiece. It was a massive tapestry showing a beautiful golden sunrise over a calm ocean. She had been weaving this specific piece for 6 long months. She left the large window open to let the warm sunlight into her room. Suddenly, a very strong gust of wind blew through the open window. It knocked over her large basket of loose silk threads. The bright wind spun the delicate threads wildly across the wooden floor. When the wind finally stopped, Lyra looked down in absolute horror. Her precious silk threads were completely tangled into a massive and tight knot. The beautiful golden, blue, and red colors were hopelessly mixed together. Her young apprentices ran into the bright room and gasped loudly. They told Lyra that the heavy silk was completely ruined. They handed her a pair of very sharp metal scissors. They urged her to cut the massive knot and throw the ruined silk into the fire. They said it would save her precious time to just start over with new thread. Lyra looked at the sharp scissors, and she gently pushed them away. She sat down on the hard wooden floor right next to the massive knot. She told her apprentices that cutting the silk is the easy way out of the problem. But cutting the silk destroys the true value of the rare material. A cut thread becomes completely useless for a grand tapestry. It leaves ugly and broken ends that can never be hidden. Lyra took a very deep breath and began her slow work. She used her gentle fingers to carefully loosen one tiny thread at a time. She did not pull the silk forcefully. She did not express any bitter anger toward the sudden wind. She worked in absolute silence for 3 entirely long days. She patiently followed every single loop and every tight twist. Slowly but surely, the massive knot began to completely dissolve. The beautiful blue, red, and golden threads were finally separated. They were completely whole, and they were completely undamaged. Lyra returned to her wooden loom and finished her magnificent sunrise tapestry. The final artwork was more beautiful than anyone could ever imagine. The villagers admired the perfect weaving. They never knew that the beautiful silk had once been a terrifying mess. The masterpiece existed only because the artist refused to use the sharp scissors. This profound story holds the ultimate secret to healing your broken relationships. When a karmic connection becomes completely tangled in deep pain, you must act exactly like the wise weaver. You must drop the sharp scissors of bitter anger and harsh judgment. You must sit down with the heavy emotional mess. You must look closely at the tight knots of mutual misunderstanding. Untangling a karmic knot requires immense spiritual patience. You must carefully examine your own deep fears. You must look at the deep insecurities of the person who hurt you. You gently separate your own painful triggers from their bad behavior. If you simply cut people off in violent anger, you leave broken energetic threads inside your own soul. The karmic lesson remains completely unlearned. The universe will simply bring another person into your life to teach you the exact same lesson. You will face the exact same messy knot again and again until you finally learn how to untangle it. You might change the specific actors on your stage, but the painful script will remain completely identical. You break up with one selfish partner, only to attract another incredibly selfish partner. This exhausting cycle continues because you used the scissors instead of your gentle patience. Untangling the karmic thread does not mean you must stay in a highly toxic relationship. You can completely untangle the knot from a very safe distance. You untangle it by finally understanding the deeper spiritual truth of the painful encounter. You realize that their cruel actions were born from their own severe trauma. You realize that your deep reaction was born from your own unhealed wounds. When you see this clear truth, the tight knot of hatred completely loosens. The bitter resentment slowly dissolves into pure compassion. The heavy energetic bond between your soul and their soul is peacefully resolved. When you untangle the thread gracefully, you keep your own spiritual fabric completely intact. You do not lose your massive capacity to love. You do not lose your bright hope for the future. You integrate the painful lesson into the grand tapestry of your beautiful life. The dark colors of betrayal and deep loss are carefully woven next to the bright colors of joy and massive resilience. This high contrast makes your human soul incredibly profound and breathtakingly beautiful. A life without any painful knots is a very shallow life. The true masterpiece is created by the person who knows exactly how to handle the massive mess. This delicate process of untangling requires a very calm and quiet mind. You cannot do this heavy work if your mind is constantly rushing. You must give yourself the precious gift of unlimited time. You treat your own broken heart exactly like the rare and expensive silk. You speak to yourself with very gentle and kind words. You forgive yourself for getting trapped in the massive emotional knot in the first place. You realize that getting tangled is a perfectly normal part of the human experience. It is not a shameful failure. It is simply an opportunity to practice your divine patience. As you successfully untangle the deepest knots of your past, your vision becomes completely clear. You look at the vast universe, and you no longer see a random and cruel place. You stop seeing karma as a harsh judge waiting to punish your small mistakes. You begin to understand the true and loving nature of the universal law. You see that every single knot was placed in your path with absolute purpose. You must now explore this beautiful realization much further. You will look closely at the profound compassion hidden inside the strict laws of cause and effect. You will discover how karma is never a cruel punishment, but rather the most loving and dedicated teacher your soul could ever have. Many people completely misunderstand the core concept of karma. You hear the word karma everywhere in modern society. People often use it as a harsh and angry threat. They say karma will punish the person who broke your heart. They wait eagerly for the universe to strike their enemies down. They imagine karma as a very angry judge sitting in the high clouds. They think this invisible judge keeps a strict list of good and bad deeds. When bad things happen to you, you might think you are being violently punished. You might look up at the empty sky and beg for divine mercy. You believe the universe is deeply angry with your past mistakes. This popular belief is a complete and tragic illusion. Karma is never a cruel or angry punishment. Karma is a profoundly loving and incredibly compassionate teacher. The ancient word karma simply means action. Every action creates a specific and equal reaction in the vast universe. It is a natural law exactly like the strict law of gravity. Gravity does not have any human emotions or bitter anger. Gravity does not hate you if you trip and fall on the hard ground. Gravity simply keeps the entire physical world in perfect universal balance. When you fall and scrape your knee, the ground is not punishing you. The sharp pain is a necessary and vital biological signal. The physical pain teaches your brain to walk more carefully next time. Karma operates in the exact same beautiful way for your spiritual soul. Let us explore a powerful story about a wise mountain guide named Taro. Taro lived at the bottom of a massive and beautiful snow mountain. The mountain had very dangerous and deeply hidden ice cracks. Taro guided travelers to the bright summit for many long years. He knew every single safe step on the steep rocky path. One day, a very proud and deeply impatient traveler arrived in the village. The traveler wanted to reach the top of the mountain very quickly. Taro gave the traveler a heavy safety rope. Taro carefully explained that they must stay firmly attached to each other. He warned the proud traveler to never step off the marked safe trail. The proud traveler felt completely restricted by the heavy safety rope. He thought the wise guide was moving way too slowly. Halfway up the steep mountain, the traveler secretly unclipped his heavy rope. He saw a beautiful patch of smooth white snow nearby. He decided to take a fast shortcut to beat the guide to the top. He stepped confidently onto the smooth and bright snow. Instantly, the thin ice broke under his heavy winter boots. He fell into a dark and freezing crack in the deep glacier. He slid down fast and caught a sharp ice ledge with his bare hands. He dangled over a terrifyingly deep void. He screamed loudly for immediate help in the freezing cold wind. Taro heard the loud scream and carefully approached the broken ice. He quickly dropped a new rope down into the dark and freezing hole. He pulled the terrified traveler back up to the safe and solid surface. The traveler was completely shivering and deeply humbled by the terrifying experience. He apologized profusely to the quiet and calm guide. He asked Taro if the holy mountain was punishing him for his terrible arrogance. Taro wrapped a warm wool blanket around the shaking man. Taro smiled gently and shook his head slowly. The guide explained that the mountain is completely indifferent to your human pride. The mountain is not angry, and the mountain does not seek petty human revenge. The thin ice broke simply because it cannot support a heavy physical weight. Taro explained that the strict rules were not meant to restrict true freedom. The safety rope was an instrument of absolute and pure compassion. The terrifying fall was a direct result of ignoring the natural law of the mountain. The painful experience was the greatest teacher the young traveler could ever have. The traveler never ignored a vital safety rule ever again. He learned deep and lasting respect for the hidden dangers of the bright world. This profound story completely explains the true and loving nature of karmic law. The universe gives you spiritual safety ropes in the form of deep wisdom and moral values. When you ignore these sacred values, you step onto extremely thin spiritual ice. You fall directly into a dark hole of massive emotional suffering. When you experience deep pain in a failed human relationship, it is not a divine punishment. You are simply touching a very hot spiritual stove. If you place your bare hand on a hot burning stove, your skin burns terribly. The physical pain is incredibly severe and entirely shocking. But the terrible pain is actually a massive biological blessing. If you could not feel the terrible pain, you would leave your hand on the hot stove. Your beautiful hand would burn completely away. The pain forces you to pull your hand back immediately to save your physical body. Emotional pain works in the exact same highly compassionate way. When you cling desperately to a person who treats you badly, you feel massive emotional pain. You cry alone in your room every single night. You feel your personal self-worth dropping completely to the floor. This heavy pain is the loving and clear voice of karma. Karma is loudly telling you that you are holding on to a burning stove. Karma is urging you to let go immediately to save your beautiful soul. The deep pain is not there to make you suffer endlessly in the dark. The pain is there to forcefully wake you up from your deep romantic illusion. It teaches you that begging for basic love is a violation of your own spiritual dignity. It shows you exactly where your internal boundaries need to be firmly established. If karma did not exist at all, you would remain stuck in toxic situations forever. You would never learn how to truly love and respect yourself. You would constantly accept terrible behavior from the harsh outside world. Karma brings exactly what is needed for your absolute highest evolution. If you need to learn profound patience, karma will naturally bring you very frustrating people. If you need to learn deep and pure forgiveness, karma will naturally bring you people who hurt you. The universe completely customizes every single lesson to fit your exact spiritual needs. This requires a massive and radical shift in how you view the difficult people in your life. They are no longer your bitter and cruel enemies. They are the essential heavy weights in your daily spiritual gymnasium. You must stop fearing the perfectly natural law of karma. You must start deeply and actively cooperating with it. When you cooperate closely with gravity, you can build magnificent and soaring towers. When you cooperate closely with karma, you can build a magnificent and completely peaceful life. You simply observe the clear and direct results of your daily actions. If a specific action brings you massive drama and deep pain, you simply stop doing it. You align your daily choices with pure kindness, deep honesty, and true self-respect. As you completely change your internal actions, your external world naturally and beautifully transforms. This deep and profound understanding brings immense comfort to a heavily broken heart. You realize the vast universe is constantly holding you in a warm and protective embrace. Every harsh lesson is delivered with profound cosmic love and infinite care. You are being carefully guided toward your ultimate spiritual awakening every single day. You stop feeling violently angry at the strict lessons of your painful past. You look at your deep emotional scars, and you see the profound love of the universe. The universe cared enough about your soul to aggressively correct your dangerous path. But human beings are very often highly stubborn students. You do not always learn the heavy lesson the very first time. You often ignore the burning hot stove, and you touch it again. You fall deeply in love with the exact same type of toxic person. You wonder why your life feels like a broken record playing the exact same sad song. You must now look closely at the massive danger of repeating your deep past mistakes. You will explore exactly why these highly painful cycles happen again and again. You will discover the powerful tools needed to break free from these endless loops completely. You will learn how to finally graduate from the repeating class of deep human sorrow. Have you ever noticed a very strange pattern in your life? You end a highly painful relationship. You promise yourself that you will never date that kind of person again. You walk away with a broken heart. Time passes, and you meet someone completely new. They look different, and they speak differently. You feel very hopeful about this bright new chapter. But a few months later, the exact same heavy problems suddenly appear. They treat you with the exact same cold disrespect. They cross your boundaries in the exact same painful way. The new relationship ends in the exact same disaster. You sit alone in your quiet room, and you feel entirely defeated. You wonder if you are cursed by the dark sky. You wonder why you constantly attract the exact same toxic situations. This repeating cycle is not a dark curse. It is a fundamental law of spiritual education. The universe will completely repeat a specific lesson until you finally learn it. If you fail a math test in a normal school, the teacher does not move you to a higher grade. The teacher makes you retake the exact same math class. The universe operates in the exact same highly efficient way. If you do not learn the vital lesson of self-respect, the universe will keep sending you highly disrespectful people. The universe will change the faces and the names of the actors. But the core script of the emotional play will remain completely identical. The painful cycle will repeat endlessly until you finally wake up. Consider a beautiful story about a hardworking gardener named Rowan. Rowan lived in a very lush and beautiful valley. His absolute greatest dream was to grow the legendary blue lotus. This rare flower required absolute perfect conditions to bloom. Rowan bought the most expensive lotus seeds from a distant merchant. He planted them in a small pond right next to his dark wooden house. A massive oak tree blocked all the warm sunlight from reaching the water. The dark pond was completely shaded all day long. Rowan watered the seeds carefully, but the young sprouts quickly died. The cold shadow completely killed the fragile plants. Rowan was deeply frustrated by his constant failure. He did not look at the massive oak tree blocking the bright sun. He simply blamed the expensive seeds. He thought the distant merchant had cheated him. The next spring, Rowan traveled to a completely different market. He bought new blue lotus seeds from a different seller. He returned home and planted them in the exact same dark pond. Once again, the fragile sprouts died in the cold shadow. Rowan repeated this exact same painful process for 7 long years. He spent all his money buying new seeds from many different merchants. Every single year, the beautiful flowers died in the dark water. Rowan cried bitterly and blamed the harsh weather. He believed the universe simply did not want him to have a beautiful garden. One bright morning, a wise old botanist walked past the house of Rowan. The old man saw the weeping gardener sitting next to the empty dark pond. Rowan complained loudly about his terrible luck. He complained about the bad seeds and the cruel universe. The old botanist looked at the dark water, and he looked up at the massive oak tree. The wise man spoke very gently to the crying gardener. The old man said the seeds were completely perfect every single time. The cold weather was not the actual enemy. The real problem was the heavy dark shadow covering the water. The blue lotus requires bright and constant sunlight to survive. Rowan kept bringing healthy new seeds into a highly toxic environment. Until Rowan moved his pond into the bright light, every single seed would continue to die. This simple story perfectly mirrors your own repeating relationship cycles. You constantly bring new people into the exact same unhealed emotional environment. Your internal world is still completely covered by the dark shadow of past trauma. You still carry deep fears of severe abandonment. You still hold on to massive insecurities about your own true worth. When you bring a new person into this dark emotional shadow, the relationship naturally dies. You blame the other person for hurting your heart. You blame the universe for your terrible luck in love. But the actual problem is your own internal environment. You are highly attracted to the exact same painful dynamics because they feel deeply familiar to your mind. The human brain seeks deep comfort in familiar patterns. Even if a pattern is highly toxic, the brain prefers it because it is completely predictable. You know exactly how to survive a cold and distant partner. You practice surviving that exact pain in your difficult childhood, or in your past relationships. When you meet a truly kind and emotionally available person, your wounded brain actually panics. True kindness feels highly unfamiliar and very dangerous to a deeply broken heart. You subconsciously reject the kind person because they do not fit your internal map. You run straight back to the toxic person who perfectly matches your unhealed wounds. You recreate your own painful history without even realizing your massive mistake. Breaking this destructive cycle requires massive and radical self-awareness. You must stop looking for new seeds in the external world. You must start clearing the dark shadows in your own mind. The next time you feel a strong and sudden attraction to someone, you must pause immediately. You must ask yourself a very difficult and highly honest question. Are you truly attracted to their pure spiritual light, or are you attracted to their familiar darkness? Does this person bring you profound peace, or do they immediately trigger your old emotional chaos? You must learn to carefully recognize the early warning signs of your own repeating cycles. When you see the old toxic pattern starting again, you must make a completely new choice. You must choose the deeply uncomfortable path of walking away early. In the past, you stayed and tried your best to fix the broken person. You hoped your deep love would magically change their bad behavior. Today, you must drop that heavy illusion completely. You cannot fix another human being. You can only protect your own beautiful soul. Walking away from a familiar toxic pattern is the ultimate act of massive spiritual rebellion. It is the exact moment you tell the universe that you have finally learned the painful lesson. It takes massive courage to sit completely alone instead of accepting bad company. You must learn to embrace the quiet solitude. Solitude is a beautiful and safe healing room for your tired soul. In this quiet space, you learn to become your own best friend. You treat yourself with the exact same deep love you always gave to other people. You water your own spiritual garden with pure kindness. You slowly move your internal pond out of the dark shadow. You step fully into the warm and healing sunlight of self-respect. The moment you make this powerful new choice, the endless cycle completely breaks. The heavy iron chains fall right off your tired shoulders. The universe registers your massive spiritual growth immediately. The universe completely stops sending you the old painful tests. You finally graduate from that specific class of deep human sorrow. You create a massive open space in your bright life. This bright space is now ready to receive true and healthy love. Your relationships will finally begin to bloom beautifully like the rare blue lotus. This powerful process of breaking cycles completely changes your external reality. The chaotic drama totally disappears from your daily life. The toxic people naturally drift away from your peaceful energy field. But the external world will always have unpredictable moments. New storms will always appear on the distant horizon. You cannot control the wild weather of the vast universe. You must learn how to remain completely untouched by these sudden external changes. You must build a strong fortress of deep peace inside your own mind. You will now explore how to permanently anchor yourself in profound inner stillness. You will discover how to remain completely calm even when the world around you is spinning wildly out of control. You step outside your house and you feel the heavy winds of the modern world. The world is incredibly loud and constantly moving. The news is full of chaotic events and endless tragedy. The people around you are rushing blindly toward an unknown destination. When you attach your deep peace to this external chaos, your mind becomes a turbulent ocean. You wait for the harsh world to quiet down so you can finally relax. You think that peace will arrive when your problems are completely solved. You believe that happiness will come when difficult people finally leave you alone. This is a very common and highly dangerous illusion. The outside world will never stop moving. The storms will never stop completely. If your internal peace depends on external weather, you are exactly like a tiny leaf blowing in the wind. A single harsh word from a stranger can completely ruin your entire day. A delayed train can make you extremely angry. A minor disagreement can shatter your fragile emotional balance. You give away your supreme spiritual power to completely random events. The teachings of the Buddha offer a very powerful alternative. True and lasting peace is never found by escaping to a quiet mountain cave. True peace is found by building an unshakable sanctuary deep inside your own mind. You must learn to become the absolute master of your internal environment. Consider a beautiful story about a highly skilled glassblower named Jiro. Jiro lived in a very busy and incredibly loud coastal city. The fierce ocean winds constantly battered his small wooden workshop. The busy streets outside were completely filled with shouting merchants and crying children. Jiro wanted to create a masterpiece that perfectly represented absolute peace. He decided to blow a massive and completely clear glass sphere. He believed this flawless glass sphere would bring deep quiet to his chaotic life. Every single day, Jiro heated the bright orange glass in his blazing fire. He lifted his heavy metal pipe and began to blow softly. But the loud noises from the busy street constantly distracted his sensitive mind. The heavy ocean wind shook his wooden walls. He lost his delicate concentration very easily. His breathing became highly erratic and deeply stressed. Every single glass sphere he made was completely deformed. The glass had ugly bubbles and terrible deep cracks. Jiro grew increasingly bitter and extremely angry. He yelled at the loud merchants outside his small window. He cursed the heavy ocean wind for ruining his beautiful artistic vision. He believed he could never create peace in such a noisy environment. One rainy afternoon, a blind traveling musician walked into the loud workshop of Jiro. The old musician carried a very simple wooden flute. Outside the wooden shop, a massive thunderstorm raged with terrible fury. The loud thunder shook the very ground. The heavy rain pounded on the tin roof with a deafening noise. The blind musician sat peacefully on a small wooden stool. He lifted the simple flute to his old lips. He began to play a melody so incredibly beautiful and deeply calm. The delicate music cut straight through the heavy noise of the terrible storm. The loud thunder did not disrupt the perfect rhythm of the blind musician. The old man was completely undisturbed by the violent external chaos. Jiro dropped his heavy metal tools in absolute amazement. He asked the old musician how he could play so perfectly during such a terrifying storm. The blind man smiled a very warm and gentle smile. He told Jiro a profound spiritual secret. The old man said that silence is not the complete absence of loud noise. True silence is the complete absence of mental resistance. The musician explained that he did not fight the loud thunder. He did not ask the heavy rain to stop falling. He simply anchored his deep focus on the quiet space inside his own breathing. He let the loud storm rage outside, while he remained completely still on the inside. Jiro realized his massive mistake immediately. He had been trying to control the uncontrollable wind. He had been demanding that the loud world be quiet for him. He returned to his blazing hot fire with a completely new understanding. He heated a new piece of bright glass. The heavy wind howled loudly against his thin walls. The loud merchants yelled in the busy street. But Jiro simply closed his eyes for a brief moment. He found the deep and quiet center of his own chest. He took a very slow and incredibly calm breath. He ignored the chaotic world and focused entirely on his own internal stillness. He blew the bright glass with absolute and perfect grace. When the glass finally cooled, it was a flawless and breathtaking sphere. It was the absolute embodiment of pure peace, created right in the middle of massive chaos. You must build this exact same clear glass sphere inside your own mind. The difficult people in your life are exactly like the shouting merchants. The painful betrayals are exactly like the heavy ocean winds. You cannot control their harsh actions or their bitter words. You can only control your own internal reaction. When someone insults you directly, you do not need to absorb their toxic energy. You simply take a very deep breath and observe their anger without any judgment. You retreat into your deep internal sanctuary. You watch the dark storm pass right by you, without letting the cold rain touch your beautiful soul. This practice is called true mindfulness. Mindfulness is the supreme art of anchoring yourself completely in the present moment. You stop your mind from running wildly into the dark future. You stop your mind from dwelling on the painful past. You simply observe the exact reality of right now. You feel the warm air filling your lungs. You feel your feet resting firmly on the solid ground. You realize that in this exact second, you are completely safe. The heavy anxiety only exists in your wild imagination. When you bring your full attention to the present moment, the chaotic noise in your head completely stops. Finding this inner stillness takes consistent and daily practice. You cannot build a massive stone sanctuary in a single day. You begin with just a few minutes of quiet breathing every morning. You sit perfectly still and watch your wild thoughts jump around. You do not fight the dark thoughts, and you do not judge them. You simply watch them float by like passing clouds in a bright blue sky. Slowly, the dark clouds begin to separate. You start to see the vast and completely clear sky behind the heavy thoughts. That clear sky is your true spiritual nature. It is always there, even during the most violent emotional storms. As you practice this gentle observation, your physical body responds beautifully. Your high blood pressure drops to a healthy rhythm. Your tight jaw finally relaxes completely. You stop reacting with sudden explosive anger when things go terribly wrong. You respond to harsh challenges with profound wisdom and quiet grace. People will absolutely wonder how you remain so incredibly calm. They will see the bright light shining from your peaceful eyes. You become a steady and safe lighthouse for other people who are completely lost in the dark storm. This unshakable inner stillness gives you the ultimate freedom to truly enjoy human connections. When you are no longer terrified of a sudden storm, you can fully appreciate the beautiful weather. You stop demanding permanent guarantees from the people you deeply love. You stop holding them tightly out of massive fear. You let them exist naturally in your bright world. You realize that everything in the physical realm is completely temporary. This profound realization does not make you deeply sad. It actually makes the present moment infinitely more precious. You must now look very closely at the breathtaking beauty of these fleeting connections. You will explore how to fully celebrate a temporary joy without the heavy burden of deep attachment. Society measures the ultimate success of any relationship by its total length. If two people stay together until old age, society calls it a true victory. If a romantic relationship ends after 2 years, society calls it a terrible failure. You absorb this heavy judgment deep into your own mind. When a person leaves your life, you feel a massive sense of personal failure. You look at the past months or years and you call them a complete waste of time. You wish you had never met the person at all. This is a highly destructive and entirely false way to look at human life. The vast universe does not measure true value by the ticking of a human clock. Think about a brilliant shooting star. It crosses the dark midnight sky in a single brief second. It burns with absolute and breathtaking perfection. When the bright light suddenly vanishes, you do not sit down and cry. You do not complain that the shooting star failed to stay in the sky forever. You feel completely breathless and incredibly lucky. You feel massive joy because you happen to look up at the exact right moment. Human connections operate on this exact same universal principle. Some people are meant to be brilliant shooting stars in the dark sky of your life. They bring a sudden burst of bright light. They awaken your sleepy soul. Then they disappear into the vast cosmic night. There was a highly dedicated artist named Valen. Valen lived in a very cold and isolated northern village. He did not paint on canvas, and he did not carve heavy stone. Valen only carved solid blocks of clear winter ice. He created the most magnificent and delicate ice sculptures in the entire world. One cold winter, Valen decided to carve a massive and beautiful crystal castle. He worked outside in the freezing wind for 2 entire months. He carved tall towers, delicate windows, and beautiful shining gates. The village people gathered around the masterpiece in absolute awe. The ice castle caught the bright moonlight and sparkled exactly like a million diamonds. The cold winter eventually turned into a warm and gentle spring. The bright sun grew highly powerful in the blue sky. Slowly, the magnificent crystal castle began to melt. Water dripped down the beautiful tall towers. The delicate windows lost their sharp edges. A traveling merchant stood next to Valen and watched the melting ice. The merchant shook his head in deep pity. He asked Valen why he wasted 2 months of hard work on something that would simply turn into mud. The merchant said true art should last for 1,000 years in a secure museum. Valen smiled a very warm and deeply peaceful smile. Valen explained that the true magic of the ice castle is exactly its fragile nature. If the castle was made of heavy iron or solid stone, people would quickly ignore it. They would walk right past it every single day without looking up. But because the villagers know the ice will absolutely melt, they stop and stare. They absorb every single bright detail with pure and absolute wonder. The temporary nature of the ice forces people to be entirely present. The beauty is profoundly intense exactly because it cannot be kept forever. Valen said he did not lose his beautiful art. The art simply returned to the vast ocean to become something new. You must apply this profound wisdom to your own past relationships. You met a wonderful person and you built a beautiful crystal castle together. You shared deep secrets, loud laughter, and quiet morning coffee. For a specific period of time, the connection was completely real and incredibly beautiful. Then the spiritual season of your life naturally changed. The karmic contract expired. The bright connection began to melt away. Your immediate reaction is exactly like the bitter merchant. You look at the melting relationship and you call it a massive waste of precious time. You must completely stop viewing an ended chapter as a failed chapter. A beautiful book is not a terrible failure just because you finally reached the last page. The last page simply means the profound story has reached its natural and perfect completion. You do not tear the book apart in deep anger. You gently close the heavy cover. You place the book on your quiet shelf, and you carry the profound story in your heart forever. When someone leaves your life, they are simply a completed book. They came to deliver a specific joy and a specific lesson. They succeeded completely in their divine mission. Human beings have a terrible habit of letting the bitter end ruin the beautiful middle. The final few weeks of a fading relationship might be filled with heavy arguments and cold silence. You let those few dark weeks completely erase 3 years of pure joy. You rewrite your own history to make the entire experience look entirely dark. You must actively stop this mental destruction. You must consciously choose to honor the bright light you shared. The arguments at the very end do not invalidate the pure love you felt in the very beginning. Both experiences were completely real, and both experiences hold massive value for your soul. True spiritual maturity is the absolute ability to hold a beautiful memory without demanding its return. You look back at the people who walked away. You see their bright smiles, and you feel a quiet warmth in your chest. You do not feel the desperate urge to call them or bring them back. You let them remain exactly where they belong in the past. You celebrate the beautiful fact that your paths crossed in this massive and chaotic universe. The mathematical odds of two souls meeting at the exact right time are incredibly small. Every single meaningful connection is a rare and absolute miracle. Nobody in this entire universe owes you their permanent physical presence. Every single day someone chooses to walk beside you is a massive and voluntary gift. When you fully realize this truth, your bitter entitlement completely dissolves. You stop treating people like permanent property. You start treating people like rare and beautiful flowers blooming in your quiet garden. You smell their sweet fragrance today. You admire their bright colors in the warm sunlight. When the cold autumn wind finally carries their soft petals away, you do not curse the wind. You simply bow your head in pure gratitude for the beautiful bloom. This deep gratitude washes the bitter pain completely out of your heart. You stop carrying the heavy corpses of past relationships on your tired back. You walk forward with completely empty and open hands. This profound lightness allows you to see the world with completely fresh eyes. You start to notice that holding on to absolutely nothing gives you the entire universe. You must now look closely at the ultimate freedom of an empty chest. You will explore a profound story about a powerful king who conquered the physical world but learned the absolute necessity of leaving with empty hands. Human beings have a very deep obsession with holding on to things. You spend your entire life trying to collect as much as possible. You collect physical objects like shiny cars and large houses. You collect heavy bank accounts to feel entirely secure. But this deep habit of collecting does not stop with physical things. You also collect heavy and painful emotions. You hoard painful memories in the dark corners of your mind. You hold tightly to old grudges and bitter resentments. You pack these heavy emotions into invisible wooden chests. You drag these heavy chests with you every single day. You believe that keeping these painful memories will somehow protect you. You think that remembering the betrayal will keep you entirely safe from future harm. This constant emotional hoarding is the true source of your massive exhaustion. You wake up every morning feeling incredibly tired. Your physical body is well rested, but your spiritual soul is completely drained. You are carrying the heavy weight of 10,000 past events. The universe constantly asks you to travel very light. But your human ego refuses to drop the heavy bags. The ego builds its entire identity around the deep pain. You start to define yourself by the terrible things that happen to you. You become the person who was betrayed. You become the person who was unfairly abandoned. When you attach your identity to heavy pain, letting go feels exactly like dying. You are terrified of who you might become without your familiar sorrow. There was once a very powerful king named Kale. King Kale conquered many distant lands with his massive and fierce army. He built the largest and most magnificent stone palace in the entire world. His heavy treasure rooms were completely filled with bright gold and rare diamonds. He spent his entire long life expanding his massive empire. He believed that his great wealth made him an immortal god. He thought he could control the vast universe with his heavy gold coins. He never shared his bright wealth with the poor villagers. He locked his heavy doors and counted his gold every single night. He was completely obsessed with the idea of having more. But the universal law of impermanence spares absolutely no one. One cold winter, the powerful king fell terribly ill. His physical body grew incredibly weak and completely frail. He offered massive chests of gold to the best doctors in the kingdom. He promised half of his entire empire to anyone who could cure him. But no amount of bright gold could buy him a single extra breath. Death was standing quietly at his royal bedroom door. The king lay in his grand bed and looked at his heavy silk curtains. He looked at his bright gold coins sitting on the wooden table. He finally realized the absolute truth of his fragile human existence. The old king called his top generals and his wise advisors into his quiet room. He gave them 3 very specific instructions for his royal funeral. First, he commanded that only his doctors could carry his heavy wooden coffin. He wanted the entire world to see a profound truth. He wanted them to know that no doctor can ever defeat the final arrival of death. Second, he commanded that his bright gold and rare diamonds be scattered along the dirt path to his grave. He wanted the world to see that earthly wealth stays entirely on the earth. He wanted to show that you cannot buy your way into the peaceful afterlife. His final instruction was the most profound and the most shocking of all. He commanded that his 2 hands must hang completely outside the heavy wooden coffin. He wanted his palms to face entirely upward. He wanted his hands to be completely empty and open to the bright sky. The wise advisors were deeply confused by this strange request. They asked why a powerful king would want to look so completely poor in death. The old king smiled a very tired and gentle smile. He explained the profound meaning of his final wish. He said he wanted to teach the loud world a massive spiritual lesson. You come into this bright world with completely empty hands. You must leave this bright world with completely empty hands. The day of the royal funeral was very quiet and deeply somber. The villagers watched the heavy coffin pass by. They saw the bright gold scattered completely uselessly in the brown dirt. They saw the pale and empty hands of the most powerful man in the world. In that exact moment, a profound spiritual awakening swept through the entire crowd. The villagers realized that chasing permanent wealth is a complete illusion. They saw that holding on to heavy things is a massive waste of precious time. The old king gave his people the greatest treasure of his entire life. He gave them the beautiful wisdom of absolute letting go. This magnificent story is not just about physical death. It is a profound lesson about how you should live your daily life right now. You are exactly like the old king hoarding his bright gold. But you are hoarding bitter anger and deep resentment. Someone hurts you deeply, and you put that pain into a heavy chest. You lock the chest tightly and carry it on your tired back. You collect thousands of these heavy chests over your long lifetime. Your spiritual soul becomes completely crushed under the massive weight. You cannot walk forward because you are carrying the entire heavy past. You believe that holding on to your pain proves that you were absolutely right. You think that carrying the heavy anger punishes the person who betrayed you. But hoarding pain is exactly like hoarding bright gold on a rapidly sinking ship. The heavy weight will only pull you down into the dark water much faster. You cannot take your bitter anger into the next beautiful chapter of your life. You cannot take your deep resentment into a true spiritual awakening. The universe requires you to travel extremely light on this high path. You must completely empty your heavy hands to receive the new blessings of the present moment. Imagine yourself walking on a beautiful and bright mountain path. You are carrying a massive wooden chest full of old betrayals and broken promises. Your shoulders ache terribly, and your feet are completely blistered. You see a beautiful mountain peak in the bright distance. But you can never reach the top while carrying that heavy chest. You must make a highly conscious decision right now. You must drop the heavy wooden chest on the side of the dirt road. You must open your tired hands and let the heavy wind carry the old pain away. You do not need the heavy chest anymore. It does not serve your beautiful spiritual journey. When you finally drop the heavy burden, a massive surge of pure energy returns to your physical body. You realize you were exhausting yourself by holding on to things that no longer exist. The person who hurt you is completely gone from the present moment. The painful event is completely over and done. The only thing keeping the severe pain alive was your own tight grip. You release the tight grip, and the severe pain completely vanishes into thin air. You look at your empty hands and you do not feel poor at all. You feel completely rich with absolute and pure freedom. Your heart feels incredibly light and deeply spacious. Emptying your hands is the ultimate act of reclaiming your personal spiritual power. You stop giving your precious daily energy to dead events in the past. You stop feeding your old demons with your bright life force. You bring all your bright energy back into your physical body today. You become the absolute master of your own spiritual destiny. This massive return of energy prepares you for the next profound step in your journey. You must now learn how to channel this new power into a deeply purposeful life. You will explore how to rebuild your bright world from a place of absolute inner strength. You will discover how taking your power back completely changes the entire trajectory of your beautiful soul. When you finally drop the heavy burdens of your past, a profound silence enters your daily life. You look at your completely empty hands. You might feel a brief moment of quiet confusion. You have spent your entire life carrying heavy and bitter pain. Now that the severe pain is gone, you wonder what you should do next. This empty space is not a dark and terrifying void. This empty space is the highly fertile ground of your new spiritual life. This is the exact moment you completely reclaim your absolute personal power. For many long years, your precious life energy was completely drained. Every single time you thought about the person who betrayed you, you lost massive daily energy. You were quietly bleeding your spiritual power into the dead and empty past. You were giving your bright life force to people who no longer mattered. You were feeding your own dark demons with your precious light. But now, the heavy bleeding has completely stopped. All that bright energy rushes rapidly back into your own physical body. You feel incredibly awake, and you feel profoundly alive. You must deeply understand the true nature of this massive emotional energy. Heavy pain and bitter anger are incredibly powerful natural forces. They can easily destroy a beautiful human life. But energy itself is completely and entirely neutral. It is exactly like a blazing and wild fire. A hot fire can burn your beautiful wooden house entirely down. But that exact same fire can also cook your warm food and heat your cold room. The final outcome depends entirely on how you consciously channel the raw power. Consider a beautiful story about a brilliant architect named Orion. Orion lived in a deep and highly fertile green valley. A massive and wild river ran straight through the middle of his quiet town. The poor villagers had immense trouble crossing the fast and dangerous water. Orion decided to build a magnificent wooden bridge. He spent 3 long years designing and carving the heavy structure. He was incredibly proud of his beautiful and strong work. The villagers celebrated his amazing talent with loud music and great joy. One dark spring, a terrible and sudden disaster struck the quiet valley. The heavy mountain snow melted extremely fast in the warm sun. A massive and violent flood roared down the wild river. The dark water crashed violently into the beautiful wooden bridge. The sturdy bridge was completely shattered into 1,000 tiny broken pieces. Orion stood on the muddy bank and watched his absolute masterpiece float away into the dark ocean. He felt a crushing weight of deep and dark despair. He felt completely defeated by the harsh and cruel river. Orion sat quietly on the wet riverbank for many long days. He watched the massive and terrifying power of the rushing water. He realized he could never build a stone wall strong enough to stop the wild river. Fighting the massive water was a complete waste of his precious human energy. Then a brilliant spark of high spiritual wisdom hit his tired mind. He decided to completely stop fighting the dark river. He decided to carefully harness its massive and violent force for a much higher purpose. He gathered the remaining broken pieces of his ruined bridge. He did not try to desperately rebuild the exact same old structure. Instead, he built a massive and heavy wooden water wheel. He placed the large round wheel directly into the absolute fastest part of the angry river. The violent water pushed the heavy wheel with incredible and unstoppable speed. Orion connected the spinning wooden wheel to a large and heavy stone mill. The destructive energy of the dark flood was instantly transformed. It ground heavy wheat into soft white flour for the entire hungry village. The violent and cruel river became the ultimate source of massive daily abundance. Your own emotional pain is exactly like that violent and dark flood. A sudden betrayal sweeps through your quiet life and completely destroys your comfortable structures. It entirely shatters the beautiful bridge of your basic human trust. You can sit forever on the muddy bank and cry over the broken wood. You can bitterly curse the dark water for ruining your perfect daily plans. Or you can become exactly like the wise and brilliant architect. You can consciously build a massive spiritual water wheel inside your own mind. You take the intense and burning energy of your broken heart and you redirect it completely. You use the heavy pain to directly fuel your own massive spiritual growth. You channel the dark energy into building a highly successful new career. You pour the intense and heavy emotions into creating breathtaking and beautiful art. You use your deep and profound understanding of human sorrow to help other broken souls. You transform the toxic and bitter poison into a highly potent healing medicine. This is the ultimate and absolute alchemy of the human soul. When you actively harness your deep pain in this beautiful way, you become completely unstoppable. You realize that the universe did not try to destroy your beautiful life. The universe simply gave you a massive amount of highly raw fuel. The cruel people who hurt you thought they were breaking your fragile human spirit. They did not know they were simply handing you the exact powerful tools for your massive future success. You permanently take your personal power back from their cold hands. You become the absolute and undisputed master of your own spiritual destiny. Reclaiming your power deeply means establishing incredibly strong internal boundaries. Your mind is a magnificent and incredibly wealthy kingdom. For a very long time, you left the heavy stone castle gates completely open. You let highly toxic people walk freely into your quiet and peaceful mind. You let them leave dark and muddy footprints all over your clean marble floors. You let their harsh and bitter words dictate your delicate daily mood. This destructive habit completely and permanently stops today. You walk bravely over to the heavy iron gates of your own beautiful mind. You close the thick gates firmly, and you lock them highly tightly. You stand tall and proud as the fierce guardian of your own deep peace. Nobody is allowed to enter your bright kingdom without your absolute and explicit permission. If a specific person brings toxic drama or cold disrespect to your door, you simply deny them entry. You do not loudly argue with them, and you do not physically fight them. You simply leave them standing completely outside your high and silent stone walls. This fierce and absolute protection of your internal peace is not an act of bitter anger. It is the absolute highest form of profound and pure self-love. You finally realize that your daily emotional energy is a very rare and highly sacred currency. You completely stop spending your precious currency on useless and loud arguments. You permanently stop buying expensive tickets to the chaotic emotional circus of other people. You invest every single bright drop of your energy into your own beautiful and quiet healing. As you step fully and boldly into this massive personal power, your external physical posture naturally changes. Your tired head is held extremely high. Your tight shoulders are completely relaxed but incredibly strong. Your clear and bright eyes shine with the quiet confidence of a true and powerful survivor. People will immediately notice this massive and profound shift in your spiritual frequency. Toxic and draining people will naturally avoid you because they can absolutely no longer manipulate your strong energy. Kind and deeply healthy people will be powerfully drawn to your incredibly bright light. You completely stop waiting for the harsh outside world to magically become an easy place. You deeply know the vast world will always have dark storms and dangerous hidden thieves. But you are absolutely no longer deeply afraid of the dark clouds. You have a massive and powerful water wheel spinning perfectly inside your own brave heart. You know exactly how to carefully turn every single drop of dark rain into pure and bright spiritual power. You have successfully and beautifully navigated the absolute darkest valleys of profound human suffering. You look back at the incredibly long and highly painful journey. You see all the strict and difficult teachers who severely broke your fragile heart. You see the massive and violent storms that completely destroyed your perfect daily plans. You fully realize that every single painful step was absolutely and entirely necessary. You could never reach this high and bright peak of massive strength without walking bravely through that specific dark valley. As this beautiful and absolute truth settles into your calm mind, a completely new and highly unexpected emotion begins to slowly rise inside your chest. You must now prepare your beautiful and healed heart for the absolute final step of this grand and magical journey. It is the highest and most incredibly difficult spiritual peak to completely climb. You will explore the profound and breathtaking daily miracle of pure and absolute gratitude. You will discover exactly how to truly and deeply thank the exact massive storms that completely washed your old fragile life away. You stand on the high peak of your spiritual mountain. You look down at the dark valleys you crossed. You remember the severe pain and the bitter tears. But the heavy anger is completely gone. A completely new feeling slowly fills your warm chest. It is a profound and absolute sense of gratitude. This is the highest and most difficult peak to reach. Human beings easily give thanks for the warm sun and the sweet rain. It is incredibly hard to give thanks for the violent storm and the dark night. But true spiritual mastery requires exactly this difficult step. You must learn to thank the very things that completely broke your fragile heart. You look back at the people who walked away. You look at the people who betrayed your deep trust. They thought they were taking something highly valuable from you. They thought they were leaving you entirely broken and completely empty. But they actually gave you the greatest gift in the entire universe. They gave you the powerful gift of absolute self-discovery. If they had never broken your heart, you would never know your own massive strength. If they had never left you alone in the dark, you would never find your own bright inner light. Their cruel departure was the exact catalyst for your beautiful spiritual awakening. Consider a profound story about an old farmer named Silas. Silas lived alone on a highly barren and rocky hill. The dry soil was completely covered in sharp stones. Nothing beautiful ever grew on this empty hill. One spring, a traveling merchant gave Silas a single rare seed. It was the seed of a magnificent silver tree. Silas planted the tiny seed in the dry dirt. He carried heavy buckets of water up the steep hill every single day. He protected the fragile sprout from the hungry birds. After many long years of hard work, the tree grew incredibly tall. It had beautiful silver leaves that sang gently in the wind. Silas loved this tree more than anything in the entire world. One dark autumn night, a terrifying and violent wind swept across the rocky hill. The heavy wind howled with absolute fury. It struck the beautiful silver tree with massive force. Silas watched from his small window in pure terror. The fierce wind completely snapped the thick trunk of the silver tree. The beautiful branches were violently ripped apart and scattered completely across the barren hill. When the quiet morning arrived, Silas walked outside. His perfect masterpiece was completely destroyed. The single beautiful thing in his lonely life was entirely gone. Silas did not fall to his knees and curse the dark sky. He did not yell at the violent wind. He simply sat quietly next to the broken wooden stump. He accepted the harsh reality of the sudden loss. A long and cold winter covered the rocky hill in deep snow. When the warm spring finally returned, the snow slowly melted. Silas walked outside and looked at the wet dirt. He saw thousands of tiny silver sprouts pushing through the hard ground. The violent autumn wind had completely shattered the tree, but it had also scattered millions of hidden seeds. The harsh wind carried the rare seeds to every single corner of the empty hill. 10 years later, the completely barren hill was entirely transformed. It was no longer a lonely place with one single tree. It was a massive and breathtaking forest of bright silver trees. The violent storm was absolutely necessary to create this beautiful abundance. If the harsh wind had never destroyed the first tree, the massive forest would never exist. Silas walked through the beautiful trees and smiled deeply. He looked up at the bright blue sky and whispered a quiet thank you to the violent autumn wind. He realized the dark storm was the greatest creator of all. Your beautiful soul operates on this exact same divine principle. You build a singular and precious dream around one specific person. You plant all your bright hopes in one single relationship. When that person leaves, your beautiful silver tree is completely destroyed. You feel like your entire world is entirely barren and completely empty. But the heavy pain violently cracks your heart open. The sudden heartbreak scatters the invisible seeds of your deep compassion. You learn to love yourself entirely. You learn to love the entire world with a much deeper and wider grace. The destruction of one single dream creates a massive and breathtaking forest of new spiritual possibilities. You must look back at your strictest teachers with pure and absolute gratitude. You silently bless the person who told you cruel lies, because they taught you the immense value of absolute truth. You bless the person who abandoned you in the dark, because they taught you how to build your own bright fire. You bless the closed doors and the rejected opportunities. You completely understand that the universe was carefully guiding your tired feet to a much higher ground. You do not hold on to any bitter debts. You forgive the massive universe, and you completely forgive yourself. This absolute forgiveness brings a profound and magical lightness to your physical body. You walk through the bright world with completely empty hands and a vastly open heart. You no longer fear the arrival of new people. You no longer fear the inevitable departure of temporary guests. You welcome every single connection with pure joy. You know that every human encounter is a beautiful and temporary dance. You enjoy the beautiful music while it plays, and you bow gracefully when the gentle song finally ends. The universe is constantly speaking to you through these fleeting encounters. The universe uses the eyes of strangers to look directly into your soul. The universe uses the harsh words of difficult people to test your absolute inner peace. When you finally understand this grand cosmic design, you completely stop fighting the natural flow of your human life. You completely stop resisting the beautiful lessons of karma. You surrender to the supreme wisdom of the bright stars. You accept that you are a vital and beautiful part of a massive spiritual masterpiece. Every single tear you cried was a holy baptism for your sleepy soul. Every heavy night of deep sorrow was a necessary preparation for your magnificent sunrise. You are completely whole, you are completely healed, and you are completely awake. The long and painful journey has finally brought you exactly back to yourself. You are the deep ocean, you are the high mountain, and you are the vast clear sky. You carry the profound wisdom of 1,000 lifetimes in your quiet heart. May your long path forward be filled with infinite bright light. May your beautiful mind remain perfectly peaceful in every passing storm. May you always remember the immense and unbreakable power resting quietly inside your own brave soul.